we speak. Pixel. Oh. That's not. Fuck. There we go. A little bit of music. All right, so we're not quiet. Welcome everybody to the stream. Pre-show. It's the pre-show, not the post-show, not the main show, not your mom's show. It might be on. Your mom watched the Crystal Chronicles. Does your mom watch the Crystal Chronicles? Or Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast? You might. You don't know.
Yeah, Mark. We should bring up the polls. People are complaining that we haven't talked in, like months.
Oh, fuck them. Yeah, we can. Let me input. If I inputted, there's Ipsy, Kitty. Okay, good. We can do that. Oh, big giant circles. I don't know what that is. What's big giant circles?
What?
This big giant. Oh, this is big giant circles. This music is big. That's pretty impressive. Oh man, it's big giant circles. Awesome. Quail knew. I did not. That's how much I knew. Nothing. I knew nothing. High five. Woohoo. Yin and Treevoid. Everybody go take a moment. Treevoid, are you guys streaming on Twitch or YouTube? Are you on your Twitch? Is that where you do your thing? Or you do your thing on the YouTube, right? Fade into Gaming, how we doing? Let me know where you want me to point people, Treevoid. I don't remember what happened 30 seconds ago. Vacation by YouTube. Okay, yeah. That's what I was thinking. Everybody go check out Treevoid's YouTube channel. Soraya the Ranger, thank you for the Tier 1 subscription. 18 months! Wah! Year and a half. That cuts close. Not as close as your Lawnmower 4.0. Did I put out all this stuff? Are we live on YouTube? We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitch. We're gonna be episode 197ing. Quail's here. Dean is here. Martyr's here. Treevoid's here. Cross is here. Yin. Excalibur. Fade into Gaming. Check out Fade into Gaming on Twitch. Treevoid on YouTube. Treevoid and Multiracial Lion doing a bi-monthly show. Bi-monthly? Bi-weekly? I hate the word bi-weekly because bi-weekly can mean once every other week or twice a week.
Yes.
Saban's here. Woohoo! D Knight is here. K9word, thank you for the subscription. 26 months! 26 months in a row! What? Ooh. The Celtics and Golden State. They're playing the basketball tonight. You know, the Celtics need to recapture the glory, don't they? I don't know. Modern basketball's I'm not as excited about modern basketball as I was when I was, well, let's say about 25 years ago, 30 years ago. I was very, very into basketball. Everybody loves Golden State. So it's been a long time since the Celtics have gone this deep, right? I mean, obviously they dominated the league for years, but it's been a while, right? Warriors have been killing it for years now. How's everybody else doing? Excited about Edge, the edge of tomorrow, the edge of reason, the time has come. Edging. Speaking of edging, Slew, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Good to be back, everybody. We're hoping to, we're hoping to be back to weekly. I've not heard any Final Fantasy VII announcements. That would be really great news. Kind of a crazy week. It's Vacation Bible School week. Dav, how you doing? Ever Crisis, I am excited about. So, do I have time to Google what's going on with Squex and Final Fantasy VII news?
You play FF7 Remake?
I did play the remake, yes.
Did you finish it?
No.
Oh. Is that like... What's the statute of limitations on spoilers for that game? Because that game's like 2 years old now,
yeah, it's a couple
right?
of years old, yeah.
I just don't know. I know people like BC are going to get like butt mad if we talk about... Because I don't know when it's going to be common enough to talk about FF7 Remake.
So there's going to be another... They've announced a trilogy of remake games, correct? Is that the news today?
Kind of. There's
right?
There's a twist at the end of Remake that's basically you need to know for the entire FF7 compilation moving forward.
Got it.
So it's it's really hard to talk about unless you talk about the twist in the remake, and
right.
Then who even knows when it's okay to talk about that? Because eventually, this is a vital pivoting point for the story and the series moving forward. So
So yeah, the next game is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then they've also announced the Ever Crisis is going to be remade or ported, or remastered for PC. So that Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. So is that the news?
Yeah, the FF7 remake has been confirmed to be parts, right? So we got part 1, we're waiting part 2, it'll be 3 games total, and then these new remakes / remasters are heavily hinted to tie into what's going on with the remake trilogy. I don't know, it's a whole fucking mess, man. We've gone full Kingdom Hearts / Marvel MCU levels of complexity in branching storyline. I don't know, it's a fucking mess.
Trilogy. It might be a trilogy like Star Wars is a trilogy.
Yeah, a trilogy of trilogies.
That's the first trilogy. There will be a prequel trilogy.
You're not far off. You're not far off with how the remake's going right now, honestly. In says it'll be a great post-show topic if Mark doesn't mind the spoiler, which I'm sure he doesn't.
No, not at all.
But I think the audience will. So maybe we'll talk about it a bit in the post-show, and then, warn everybody that it's remake spoilers, and you should get out until you finish that 2+ year-old game at this point.
Yeah. Disc 1 is 3 games. Disc 2 is 3 games. Disc 4 is 3 games.
At least Kenobi kind of fixed itself. I don't know about that. We can talk about
no
that.
No spoilers, because I haven't caught up on that. I'm 2 episodes behind. I think we've only seen 3 because my family was out of town last week, so I did not watch it without the boys. No Kenobi spoilers. But I would hold judgments until the end of the series regardless.
Yeah, but with 1 more episode to go, you got the broad strokes now.
Yeah, no, right.
So, it's not gonna... 1 last episode isn't gonna drastically change the opinion, in my opinion.
Rupert had 5 fingers. Classic.
Wait, what?
That's the name of the song. Rupert had 5 fingers. Stranger Things. Yeah, I've not watched any of Stranger Things, so feel free to spoil that because I don't really care. I only got so much time. I haven't watched. I didn't watch Hawkeye. Haven't watched Moon Knight. Haven't watched Miss Marvel.
All of these are skippable. I'm
Right.
never watching a Marvel show unless it gets glowing reviews again. And even then, I'm pretty suspect of Marvel movies. I mean, Marvel stuff getting good reviews because I was talking to my friends the other day, and they're like, you can't trust when Marvel movies get. They're always averaging above 90, even the really mediocre ones, just because.
I haven't seen Doctor Strange.
That one was one of the worst reviewed Marvel movies of all time. I think it's competing with Thor 2 right now for worst reviewed Marvel movie, and they beat out Eternals, right?
The new Thor looks okay though. I'm more excited about that. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with dumb one-shot things, that are just fun popcorn movies, I gotta catch the Batman movie on some kind of on-demand sometime. The 3.5 hour long Batman movie with Robert Pattinson. We didn't see that either. Yeah, HBO. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, no, I haven't seen Eternals yet. We haven't watched that. I think maybe
that's been
the
on
boys
Disney
have
Plus
it.
forever.
Yeah,
I keep meaning to watch it too, but
I haven't watched Black Widow yet either.
oh, that one would be awful.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, which is understandable, which is why you've got to be pickier with your fucking Marvel movies.
I don't sit around and watch a lot of TV. I do sit around and watch a lot of YouTube.
Do you watch on YouTube? Actually,
I could not.
I don't want to know.
I could. I watch The Ranting Hour. I watch Josepher and Lids87 and Respoina. I watch Historia Crux. I watch the Trevoid Hour. I watch what's that other one? What did I forget, Mino? Which one did I forget?
Know. I don't know. I don't watch any of these. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No, my problem with like a movie or a TV show, like I finished The Witcher Season 2 finally this weekend. You know, my family was still out of town. I had been working and finding things to do to occupy my time, but I finally sat down and finished the second season of The Witcher. So, but like if I'm going to sit down and watch something like that, like I want to watch it. Like I want to devote time into it. And most of the time, if the TV is on, I'm not paying attention to the TV. I'm doing 3 other things, right? So that's why I don't care if like I'm watching, you know, people open Pokemon cards or people pulling on Defo or, you know, something like Mythical Kitchen or Tri Channel, you know, just random stuff like that in the background. Oh, yeah, the Ranting Hour with Blartanian. Yeah, Blartanian's Defo channel. The Raw Life Hour, also known as the live stream. Yeah, Monday's the live stream. Tuesday's Historia Crux. Wednesday is Ranting Hour / Trevoid Multiracial Lion Hour. Thursday is the Crystal Chronicles podcast, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. Every month, there is still the fireside chat, minus our good friend Jinli. There are other.
Are you still going with that?
Well, they did last month. So yes, they Rez, Lids, and 40 did do a fireside chat for after the last community. So for this month, I don't know, given what 40's doing, not doing, I don't know if they're going to do it next month, but they did do one this month, the 3 of them. So you can check that out on any of their channels, I think. Yeah. But there are some others. Lesser known. Just like the fact that I named a whole bunch of talk shows. I'm not even talking about just like general content creators. The fact that I just named talk shows devoted to this very niche mobile game says something about our community.
Yeah.
And there are, like I said, there are other ones that maybe are not as popular that I had not mentioned because I don't know what they're called, but they do exist. That's ridiculous. Like, find me another mobile game, like any mobile game, that has one, let alone multiple podcasts, talk shows, things like this. I don't think it exists. Now, YouTube channels, sure. YouTube videos, yes. Twitch streams, yes. But like this groundbreaking medium that the Crystal Chronicles pioneered? No. You're not going to find it. You're not going to find it. We are so influential that we have created a subculture of gaming media within this very niche mobile game community. And I think we should be proud of that. I think we should tip our hats. Yeah, we should probably start the show. Mino, are you good to go?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, everybody. It's time to play the music. That's all. All right, well, let us start the show. Oh, let's see. Anthony, it's time for bed. And that's Anthony, if you're listening out there, anybody named Anthony, go to bed. Go the hell to bed, Anthony. Good night. I love you. I don't know which of you are named Anthony. Get the hell to bed. You can listen in bed. That's up to you. But all right, let's start the show in 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome, everyone, to episode 197 of the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, recorded June 16th, 2022. I am your host, Mark, and I am joined by my good friend and yours. It's Mino Spellgood. Mino, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Mark, trucking through, just waiting for June to fucking end so I can get my life back.
That sounds good. And if you're looking to get your life back, maybe you're recently single, maybe you're on the prowl, maybe you just want to spice things up in your current relationship, well, go to our good friends Manscaped, www.manscaped.com, for all your personal grooming needs. You can try the Lawnmower 4.0 or the Weed Whacker to make sure the hedges are trimmed, the berries are plucked, the twigs are streamlined, and you're feeling good about yourself. Again, TCC Pod, TCC POD, 20% off your entire order. We thank you for our friends at Manscaped for presenting this episode of the Crystal Chronicles podcast, your Manscaped podcast. Well, that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about DissidiaFFOO, Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. And our good friend Poto Cedar last week, the TCC intern, posed a question, or 2 weeks ago. It's been a couple weeks since we've had an episode. He asked how many characters in DissidiaFFOO have cursed artifacts. Those artifacts that had double gold or double reds that you needed to collect. Very difficult in the early game. Bonus, who are they? The answer is 6. There are 6 characters with cursed artifacts. They would be Aerith, Cater, Lion, Vivi, Yuna, and Sarah. Congratulations, all of you who knew those. Congratulations, all of you who did not have to play through that horrible era, because that was kind of a potential way that they were going to revamp and rework characters. Thankfully, that didn't stick, because it was horrible in the pre-Mog Pass artifact days when it was really hard to get to 2-star artifacts. This week's very interesting question from Poto. Which community member, so which one of you of the TCC family, completed the impossible, quote unquote, April Fool's TCC challenge? A couple years ago, we had a TCC challenge that we just threw out there, thought that it was just more of a joke. We thought it was impossible, but one of you actually beat it. Do you remember who that was? Let us know if you remember who beat that impossible, very different than the Impossible Burger. The impossible TCC challenge was very, very possible. Going to news, which I did not update whatsoever. Woohoo! I don't think we have any other rewards. There is an ongoing portal, Final Fantasy Portal. That is an app you can download. It's super exciting. You can download the Final Fantasy Portal app. There's some bug fixes up. The game's updated. Of course it has, as we've started the show. There are a couple costumes. If you didn't get Vincent's costume, you can pick that up. The other costumes, Realm's got a costume.
No.
Are you there?
I said no. Realm doesn't have a costume.
Oh, Realm doesn't have a costume? Who am I thinking of? Oh, Aiko had a costume. I'm trying to think of the characters who got costumes. Realm does not have a costume. She should have a costume. Why doesn't Realm have a costume? Vincent's got a costume. Severus got a costume. No new costumes. Those are both repeat costumes for us. No special weapons or anything else in the store this week. Again, the ongoing bug update fixes are in your chat. Of course, my game's reloading and frozen, so I can't dig into that. But let's move on from the news of the day to the events. Between the last time we were together and this time, we did have a new character, which is very exciting. A new character event, and that new character was Final Fantasy Type 0 Sice. So with the addition of Sice, I believe we have all of the Type 0 cadets. Is that right, Mino?
The story in game says no. So
well, that's what I thought, but then they tweeted out that we had them all. So what is so who would we be missing if we
10 and Joker, but they were non-playable characters. That's the thing.
Oh, okay. So we're missing
His and Joker, yeah.
Okay. So we have all the playable characters. There are potentially, of the cadets, we're still missing some of the cadets. Okay. Because Kurosame wasn't a playable character, right? So so potentially in terms of the entire cast, there are some. Joker and Tiz. Okay, interesting. Thank you all. Obviously, I didn't play this game, so why would I know? But that does help. So the old teacher later. Yeah, there's other characters in there. But we got a new character, and that character is Sice. And people are going on about her armpits, which I didn't realize was a thing for some of you degenerates. But apparently it is. So enjoy that, I guess. Whatever you need. Yeah, so Final Fantasy Type 0 Sice, very interesting character. She is a melee dark damage dealer who has traps, has some utility in the form of evasion and also some delays. She does have this cool trap. It is a 12-turn trap. Every time she uses her LD, she gets 4 turns of her LD, 4 uses, I mean. So she has several turns of this trap. And every time someone's turn ends, the trap triggers off the enemies, does a dark damage attack with some rave gain, splash, etc. And so it's a trap that doesn't just tick off after enemy turns, it ticks off after every player turn. So pretty cool. I think she's and again, she does have evasion up as well. And she does have delays on one of her attacks as well. So she's got some interesting utility. The debuff from the trap is a little bit of defense down, but not much else from that. I've played around with her a little bit. I think she's an interesting character. I like that she's got a bunch of utility. She is the special weapon type. So obviously, if you have her ultimate weapon, special weapon types are really good ultimate weapon choice. That does help her damage considerably. She's kind of in a strange place because it's not really follow-up damage. It's damage from a trap after turns. So I think in some sense she's kind of competing with Cisne for that, but she's also going to be kind of competing with like Freya and Kane for off-turn damage. So she's in a weird spot, and her utility is good, but it's not like, she's certainly not the best delayer. She's not the best evasion. She's not the best damage dealer, but she does a whole bunch of things okay, and she's kind of got an interesting kit. I know BC was really hyped about getting her again and trying to use her this time. I'd be interested to see some people who are really hyping up Sice, seeing how long she can kind of move into the FR era. I think she has a lot of cool mechanics, but I think there's a lot of characters who are better. I think she's interesting, but not necessarily a must-have. Mino, what were your initial ideas about, or just what did you think about Sice?
It's a cool character. I like that this month's characters are getting pretty creative, but
Yeah.
I am personally it's a weird spot. We talk about the bad timing meme. I really think it's bad timing. I'm not recommending any of my the friends who my more casual friends playing the game asking who to pull. This whole month is kind of a skip.
Yeah,
Sorry to
right. I mean,
any hipsters out there defending these characters. But if I don't touch on the viability and just talk about their gimmicks alone, it's some fun stuff. I don't think Mark went into as much detail about her EX gimmick, right? Which is her main selling point that moves all enemies
oh yeah,
turns past the last
yes,
enemy, which is very unique. It's a way to delay turns and it's a way to get around delay immunity. If you don't want to use Quistis, which is she's showing her age more and more. Ope actually talked about some pairings for her that are interesting, kind of like she just pairs well with delayers, right? Like
right.
if you had like a Quistis or any sort of delayer, which we do have around here, they work in tandem to um really really delay the characters, such as most delayers are single target, and she can just make that delay basically AoE, and or turn deleters as well. They said like she pairs really well with those. Not something I'd personally play with, but kind of interesting. She has 100% evasion,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna try her out with Edge today, because Edge ticks up every time somebody gets a miss. So,
Oh
and
right,
then yeah,
right.
and
Yeah.
the traps are the same. They work the exact same way as Ace's traps, so it's
Right.
not a new concept. But Ace's traps were awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I really like it's very strong. It's basically a free follow up, and it's better than technically Cisne, and we're getting Yang soon. But like because they need attacks to trigger, right? These will trigger off of anything
Any
and everything.
turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The end
Yeah,
of any
and
turn.
including enemy turns, which is very, very
Yeah.
good. Yeah, right. So I mean, great kit. Would I recommend anyone pull her? No, not 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 even close. So I don't know. The this whole cycle is gonna be hipster challenge runners versus
Yeah.
people saving for FRs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. But yeah, let the hipster challenge runners uh, go with Sice again. I think if there's anything to be said over like Sice versus Cisne, because Cisne obviously can work well into FR era. It's that you're probably not going to be using your ultimate weapon on Cisne, right? And so maybe you can get a little bit more mileage out of Sice because you can use,
Right. That's a fantastic point, because I remember Tree Void and BC were getting into it on this week's Historia Crux, because Tree Void said like a 5/5 Ultima weapon was a discount budget unit. So he's like, oh, if you run a 5/5 on Emperor, he does really good damage. But BC's like, do you really think a 5/5 Ultima weapon counts as, budget? Which
right.
is a great point, because first of all, uh, how many people are going to do a 5/5 unique weapon? And if they do, how many people are going to do two? Because when the FR era comes, you've got several much better unique, like Cam for one, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
obviously you're going to be giving your unique weapon to a much stronger candidate, and there are much better candidates. So would you really realistically say sell Sice with her potential with an Ultima weapon? Because most people would have to build two uniques then, and that's not realistic either. So I think realistically, no one's going to build a unique Ultima weapon and then slap it on Sice ever.
Right. No, right. I mean that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tree Void was saying I believe Edge stacks only tick up when he dodges. I'm looking at the infographic, TonberryTroupe.com for all the beautiful infographics. I'm looking at the infographic for Edge right now, and I think Tree Void's right. I don't see anywhere that it would be. Edge does give party evasion, but I don't see anything that would tick up the stacks of Fire Scarf if other people evade. I don't know in practice what that looks like, but it looks like it's just when he dodges.
Okay, then we'll go with that. I can double check
Yeah,
it, but I believe
we
all
can
of you guys
play
right
it
now.
out. Yeah, for sure.
I believe all of you guys right now for sure.
Yeah.
So it's only self dodges. Okay.
Well, we did have an event with this, as we do with new characters, and as you can imagine, the Luffania orb really took on traps and dark damage. So wanted you to make the most of Sice here. So if you look at the Luffania orb, we had these two scary looking skeleton things, the Cruels, and they're weak to dark damage. Woohoo! And the orb, which starts at the beginning of the fight, is boss takes brave damage from buff debuff effect that decreases in duration, or the boss takes brave damage. If you do both of those things, picks up. If you do one of them, stays the same. Every action is -2. Obviously, Sice is a really great character for this. There are plenty of other characters that do that. Bring your Zondes. Get that dark damage going. Other than that, not a very heavily mechanicked fight. There's only a few thresholds where the enemies change turn orders, and it changes the mechanics of the turn phases, enemy, player, enemy, etc. like that. It actually messes with the turn order. Again, Sice is someone who can then mess with their turn order. They do gain shields at one point in the fight, and they can do some debuffs. Other than that, they have 19 million HP, which to be fair is like chaos at this point. 19 million HP is not a lot. So I'm not sure that a lot of you saw the HP damage down debuffs or the HP poison damage debuffs or speed down. Like, they do a whole bunch of things and they have phases, but they died real easy. I didn't see anyone particularly have problems with this fight. If you are, Excalibur has a really cool infographic on our Discord under information. You can check that out. We also have a strategy thread for that as well. Mino, anything about this fight that you debuff reflect. Yeah.
They had a threshold at the end.
Yeah, that was towards the end, like at 39%. They got the debuff reflect, right? Reflects any new debuffs inflicted back to player, canceled after HP damage shield depleted. So while they have that shield up, but again, they get the shield once, it's 1 million HP shield, and just don't debuff them during that time. And they change orders a couple times in the fight. That's really all. That's the only mechanics, right? There's not much besides the orb management.
I mean, it's another example, and I'm just pretty down on this cycle because it's a whole. I don't care how interesting your gimmicks are if the numbers aren't there. And this fight, most people didn't even know that existed.
No, right,
because
exactly.
They blew it up, and
yeah.
This just came back in JP as well, in Lost Chapter 4, and it's just as much of a joke as well. So like, I don't know, man. Like, nobody's gonna remember this fight. Most people aren't gonna see the mechanic, and usually I would applaud the attempt, but it's just like, I don't know what they're doing. The numbers aren't there. Same with the characters, even if the gimmicks are good. Not an inspiring fight or event at all.
Well, as we talk about the next content, just keep that number 19 million in your head, because I think that's pretty important. Each boss had 19 million HP with a 1 million HP shield at one point. So 20 million HP that you need to deal with throughout the fight, 40 million total. So just keep that in your head. We don't want to neglect the podcast polls. And shout out to Quetzalma and J.A for helping with the podcast polls. If you go to our Discord, you can tell us how you're voting. And this is across several of our Discord servers. So for the second banner, which had the twins, they did get their C90s. But again, do we need to talk about twin C90? Or did they already have their C90 and they just got this extra banner?
Who?
The Lon and Rain had a banner
Yeah,
with Sice.
I want to say this is they just got their C90 here, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so on that banner, across 3 servers, not a lot, 9 people were going to ticket that banner with Lon and Rain, Edward, and 66 skipping. On 9 servers for the Sice banner, 30 people skipping, only 30 people skipping, 189 throwing tickets on this banner, 34 pitying Sice LD, and 7 pitying Preesh BT. This was the last cycle for the last chance to get Preesh BT. I believe I did get it on this banner. I think I did get Preesh BT on this banner. But yeah, so a lot of people pulling. So thank you, Quetz, and thank you, J.A. Thank you all for participating in that fun little thing called Podcast Poll. I was going to see, because I have not uploaded my my poll videos, because quite frankly, it's just been kind of boring. So I did get, I don't know where, I didn't write down. Because I didn't put in, I didn't update my spreadsheet with those. That's why. But yeah, I did get Prish BT along the way here for this one. Yeah, as we transition, and we will talk about Edge as the event drops here in half an hour. But as we transition, there is a little bit of news in the Final Fantasy world. There has been announced that the Final Fantasy remake, Final Fantasy VII remake, will be a trilogy of games. And the next game announced is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which will be the second part of the trilogy. It was also announced that Crisis Core, everybody's favorite game with Zack, is going to get a remake or a remaster referred to as Crisis Core Reunion. And so that's going to be available on consoles and PC. And so I think, well, for me, that's potentially exciting because I've never played Crisis Core. And I never decided to download it on an emulator or anything. So I potentially could pick it up. Maybe not, but I still need to beat the remake, Final Fantasy VII remake, one of these days. Treevoid says Twin C90 is noteworthy in how horrible it was. Yeah, I wasn't particularly impressed by Twin C90. That's why we didn't really talk about it. We're gonna really have to talk about, like, moving forward, like, even if we even mention those, like, because there are going to be like C90s and reworks, but at some point, like, do you talk about those? But speaking of Treevoid, Multiracial Lion and Treevoid have their own little spotlight hour and show on YouTube. Treevoid, check out Treevoid Defo on YouTube, or just search Treevoid on YouTube, or just go to our Discord and you can be able to find them as well. The link to that. And yeah, they're doing a show on the Wednesday nights that BC is not doing the ranting hour. So check out check out Treevoid and Multiracial Lion, and I believe they are focusing on JP. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the JP side of the game, or if you are a JP player, that will be a really good resource for you. Mino, anything about that? Were you able to catch that? The first episode of their show?
Yes, but I'm torn between being polite and professional.
Yeah.
And talking some friendly shit to Treevoid right now, so no, when you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But no, well, I can give the objective facts. So their hook, their angle is approaching JP from a new player experience, because I believe Treevoid only has a 2-month-old account or something like that.
Got it.
And then I caught the first episode, and I believe Lion says he like takes breaks when it comes to like how seriously he takes his JP account as well. So it's kind of like a unique, here's what's happening in JP from like primarily GL player perspectives, if that's something that interests you.
Is it better than the other JP podcast?
What other JP podcast?
Exactly.
Ranting Hour? Does Ranting Hour count?
No. That's yeah, he does. BC does talk about JP and global, yes. No, I was using the word I was using the word podcast specifically. I'm just seeing if I'm gonna get that out of you at all tonight. Anyway, yeah, the Ranting Hour is not a podcast. Now you can join our Discord. You can become a member on YouTube for 99 cents. You can subscribe to us on Twitch. We really do appreciate your support. And if you do, you get access to a couple exclusive channels on our Discord. Just merge your accounts, put your Twitch or your YouTube account in Discord so they link up. And you can answer our supporter corner questions. Cedar poses a question. And question number 20 was, which character in DissidiaFFOO do you relate to the most? Sir Alex, nice to have you back, Sir Alex. Squall, for sure, introverts talking to themselves more than others. Raw Life Orin. Raw was around. Why do you relate to Orin? Let us know.
Yeah.
Sleuth says Snow. I'm a dumbass who rushes head first and doesn't think. Fair. Blart says Reno. Mondays, am I right? Red Cane says... Red Cane says Gallup because I often feel old and tired and like everyone is out to get me. Stray Bead says Ignis since he wears glasses. Fair. JD Terraforce says, and Ignis comes up with new recipes. Yin says Garland, because I'm caught in a cycle of conflict and fighting with others constantly, and I'm now only getting stronger. I'm glad you think that, Yin. Daniel says, Sarah, I'm always overlooked. No, Daniel, you're never overlooked. Love you. Poto Cedar, but you'll never be a woman. That's funny. Lily says, Sink, Big Hammer goes to Seki. Okay. Final Asim says Arden. You spelled Arden wrong, buddy. But anyway, Arden, because I feel more dead than alive. That's dark. Feel free to reach out, Final Asim. We're here for you, buddy. C-Sam says Locke, always trying to save someone. Crush. We're getting existential now. I should read these before I read them. Crush Luna Freya, as I am as important as I am irrelevant. Mike G says Pain, because while mostly keep to my past to myself, I'm generally quiet and stoic. I'm always happy to tag along for random adventure with the right people. Oh, that's nice, Mike. Indolent Lard says Pindello, as I'm also a cardboard cutout. That's a nice shout out to RAB Tunes. K9 word Shadow, because dogs are awesome to fight besides. You shouldn't be fighting with your dogs. No, I guess if you're a police officer. Yeah. Maybe K9 word is a police. K9 is in his name. Maybe he is a police officer. That'd be cool. Goose says Selfie, because I was also a mistake.
Wait, what?
Goose says,
what are these answers, man? I don't even ask me to. I like, clearly a lot of people put a lot of thought into these. I'm not going to be able to come up with a good witty answer on the thought like this. Too much.
Tudyk says Hope, because my life is deprarious, depressing, and hilarious. Deprarious, is that a real word? Franks. Who's Franks? Who is Franks? I don't know who Franks is. Welcome, Franks. If you've changed your name and I don't know who you are. Damn, this is getting dark. I identify with Tara because I'm cool as fuck and people should pay $13,000 for a statue of me.
That's so good.
That's pretty.
A lot of these.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you, everybody, for those great, yes, Smelfy game. It's coming for you. Wow. Yeah. I relate to Jet because I also hate my children. I like to let them know that they're not very good. And I'm always going to be better at them. So that's what I relate to. So yeah, Mino, did you come up with an answer?
No, pass. I had a long day at work. I'm not quick on my feet tonight. I'm gonna pass.
Wow.
Maybe in the post show.
Great answers, though. Thank you, everybody. Great question, Poto Cedar. I didn't see it going where it went, so appreciate that.
That's a really good question and great answers from the community. That was really good.
Well, let's talk about Dimensions End, Transcendence, Tier 9. It's the fight everybody's been waiting for. We did get a couple, I gotta do my hunts. That's how much I've been playing the game. I haven't used any of my hunt tokens. I've been playing the game, I just haven't done that. Let me get up to Dimensions End here. Yeah, there we go. Dimensions End, Entropy, Transcendence. Now, left and right, you have to use white crystal on one, green crystal on the other. Fairly simple fights. What are they, Luffania difficulties?
Yeah.
I don't, they're not necessarily worth talking about in my opinion. The Sahagins is one, and then the Bears is the other one. The Bears is the other one. But we will talk about the main fight with a new boss, and a lot of it. It's a new boss, and there's a lot of it. But before we do, we got some new characters. We got some updates. Galoff updated with his C90. Sephiroth, Vincent, Realm also get their C90s. Galoff didn't get anything new, but he does get a nice little boost. Anything particular? I don't think he gets really anything different as I look at his kit and as I've played around with Galoff, but he just does what he does a little bit better. Did you notice anything particularly different about Galoff?
Yeah, he does a lot of damage.
He does all considerably,
like, so much
large
damage.
amount of damage.
Like, holy shit!
A lot of people were bringing their ultimate weapon, 5/5 ultimate weapon greatsword on Galoff instead of Sephiroth for all the follow up damage, which I think is probably a better idea.
I want to say of the featured characters, he's the hardest carry in this fight. By far.
Yeah. He's doing great. Considerable amount of damage. And again, great party. If you're not familiar with what Galoff does, he's a cover tank. He covers the party. So if the enemy attacks you, he jumps in front of them. He does have some ability to take those attacks, and he does a counter attacks. He does have some HP regen, I believe, and some support for the party as well. So he's just a really good cover tank. And they're always good. Every time one of these tanks comes into play, they're usually a good pickup. I generally encourage pick them all up because they're all really useful. Oh, Excalibur says his LD buff now lasts 9 turns, which is much better, much better than his previous iteration, where he could run out of that buff, because it was 5 turns before. So he originally had 20 turns of it. Now he's going to have 36 turns of it. So that's a considerable increase. So and yes, 7 Heavens, we will find out together what is on the banner in 20 minutes. Yeah, we do not know, but we will find out together. So yeah, Galoff is good, but nothing new for Galoff. The new LD belonged to Realm, who also got her C90 and support. C90 increase. If you're not familiar with Realm, she has a lot of fun mechanics. She's one of the more interesting mechanical characters in the game conceptually. In practice, we'll talk about that, but conceptually, she's a very interesting character. She has some turn manipulation because she has this sketch debuff that allows her to warp after the enemy acts, but she also changes her attacks and how they interact depending on the summon that is equipped. Which is a really cool mechanic. I've always liked that. That's not new. That's what she's always done. With her LD, she really doesn't get as much as you would like, in my opinion. Basically what she does with her LD, she summons Ultros, she paints Ultros, and then she gets a new warp HP attack, which is basically tentacles. Which does help a little bit. I suppose it does help her damage overall, but I don't know. It doesn't really add a lot of other things. Does do a little bit of party support, I guess, her new LD buff. So she does get a new LD buff. A little bit of party support, brave damage, HP damage, overflow, brave gains. So that's nice to add to her kit. But it's a pretty standard attack. It also applies sketch like everything else. And it gives her this new HP warp attack, which is basically just a special HP attack to use when she gets to warp turns. Other than that, her kit has not changed. She did get a little bit of an update, but some of her damage is not super great. So, Mino, I know you're a big fan of Realm. What is your opinion of her in this era, in her LD form?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm the only person who really knows what Realm does anymore after listening to all these shows this week, but I don't blame anybody. I still think she's objectively a terrible character. Uh, like, as in, I don't think she's going to be relevant in 2 weeks at all whatsoever. But conceptually, theoretically, I think this is a great step in the right direction, and it just makes me more excited for future warp characters when they get their turn. But it also, we're like 8 months into FRs, and I don't think any turn warping character has gotten their tuning pass yet. So they might be saving them all to the end of the era again. We'll see.
Didn't Eldnarsh come back?
Eldnarsh got a green BT plus, but he didn't get an FR or anything.
Okay.
So I don't think anyone's gonna use him ever. I can't believe he got his BT plus when turn warping is actively punished. But the concept of Realm is amazing because finally, a warp character, her warp turns, she's rewarded for getting warp turns, and
correct.
her warp turns are stronger than her normal turns.
100%.
Her normal turns are just to support and
they're not good.
reapply sketch now. Basically, either set up sketch or, as a lot of people are doing, bring a more gimmicky summon like Sylph for heals or something.
Yeah, right.
And then her warp turns are rewarded because her new HP plus is not only a much stronger attack than she usually gets access to, it's a big fat battery. And what that usually means is, theoretically, not only is this warp character finally rewarded for getting warp turns, but theoretically you're supposed to pair her with follow-up characters because it's a big fat battery. So enemy goes, she goes with a free warp turn, and then her turn is batterying the entire party who could potentially follow up, like a Cisne or a Freya.
Right.
Or something like that. For like a maximized follow-up. I think this is so cool in theory. Power-wise, this will probably be like, well, we already know it's not going to be meta as soon as FR comes, because you're not finding all these follow-up characters and bringing a warp character all with no force enhancements to the force era. Like, that's just not practical. But for the remaining week and a half that we have with her, have fun. Plus, a lot of people got a lot of mileage out of her in the Transcendent. So
she can solo the white. She's a white crystal user. She can the left gate. She can solo the left gate.
Mm-hmm.
That's worth something. I'm not saying you should do that. I brought her on the other gate. But
it's just so sad they saved her for the end.
Yeah.
And probably understandably so. I really just feel like they don't know how to balance warp characters. I think they'd be too strong. Like, this is such a strong character if she released not before the era's dead and gone. Like, if she came early, I was really hoping she came early when they were time traveling some characters, like Alice, because she would have just been so much fun during garbage time. They really should have just let us rip loose in garbage time with this.
Oh, so Galuf can solo the green tier, and Yin is saying that the two of them can do the center.
Yeah, but it's a very gimmicky run. It's a very gimmicky run. I know I know you guys are advertising the Galuf Realm duo, but please don't, because I've watched so many T9 streams this week. I've watched so many, as I was saying in the ranting hour, And so many people tried to duplicate it without understanding how it works at all and failed for hours. Guys, please don't advertise that run because you are
you really have
so
to
many...
understand how the free turns work, because her free turns don't affect turn count and everything else, right? So I mean, you really have to...
No, there's just so much to it. You guys are dooming mediocre players, because first is you need double refined Laguna Sphere specifically for this strategy.
Oh, right.
And who has that unless you planned ahead? And then you need the person who ran HP artifacts, because among two characters, when the damage is split, Realm needs the extra HP and Alexander for the extra defense and the emergency heal, or she'll die. So, like, you have to really go out of your way to make this run work. And like you said, you have to really master turn warping. So, like, guys, please stop advertising. I've seen so many people eat shit for hours.
Did they do it? The people that cleared that, I didn't even see a clear with that. Did the people that cleared that use 2 ultimate weapons and blue armor?
I know the armors were blued. I know the unique Ultima weapon was not 5/5.
But Gallif's was, right?
Probably, yeah. So like, yeah, like, it was a very niche run. And it's just so sad because so many people have been struggling on this fight that fight gets thrown out, and then they try to imitate it without understanding the game at all, and it's just a disaster.
Well, we have a couple other characters to talk about before we move to the actual fight, which we've already been hinting at. Sephiroth got his BT+. Hooray! It does move his BT. If you're not familiar with Sephiroth, he has a sword and does damage, and he has a BT effect that puts everyone's Brave to 1 after any action. So enemies' Brave gets set to 1 after anybody acts. Re-break a billion times. It's great. It was 3 turns. Now with his BT plus fully green, it's 4 turns. And he gets attack up, Brave gains up, Brave damage limit up. To the party.
Oh, Excalibur is giving you his stats. So he's the one who pulled it off, of course.
Oh, okay.
And he said it was a 2/5 Ultima weapon on Realm, no blue armor for Realm, and then no Ultima weapon on Galif.
I'm going to have to check that out, Excalibur. Awesome. Yes, and so yes, Sephiroth did get a C90. Octaslash does actually 8 dumps, which is nice. His EX does more dumps, Fervent Blow, a couple more, and nothing else much to change. But yeah, I mean, if you like Sephiroth like I do, mine was blue anyway, and so I greened him because that was my plan. I'm not sure that it's a great idea. I'm not sure I would suggest it to anybody. I do like his BT effect, and I guess having 4 turns of it instead of 3, or having 8 turns of it is okay. But it does get kind of old, as any delay strat does. And really, at the end of the day, that is kind of what it is. Although, unless you are fighting bosses that have just huge Brave gains, like the Bears, for example, they gain Brave at random sets, and if he has his BT effect, it just sets it back to 1. That's kind of nice. Other than that, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you like Sephiroth, you already did it. If not, you probably can live without it. Know anything about Seph?
He does a lot of damage.
He does do a lot of damage.
I think BC said something on Historia Crux I'm going to steal, which is just he's a very simple character, and that's always a plus, right? Like,
yeah,
you can give him to anyone and just do damage.
Press the buttons.
Yeah, press the buttons.
You press the buttons.
Like, after he's set up, what do you really need to know, right?
Yeah.
Like, S1 is AoE and S2 is single target, really. And then
and even then, really, you just kind of press the buttons. You probably won't run out of buttons, so you keep pressing the buttons. That's good.
And then, I've always been a fan of his BT effect, and I know that people have used really big brain people can still use it to great effect in the next era, because it really enables people. And the best part is you could probably bring Eateroth back.
I
Somebody
forgot about that. I
and
forgot
tell him
about
to come
that.
back to the game because his favorite team is viable
Yeah.
again.
I forgot about Ydaroth completely. But yeah, enjoy Ydaroth for this next week and a half. No, I think you can make Ydaroth work a little further down the line. But yes, definitely. Black Cloud says Ydaroth is still going strong to this day. So there you go. Cross says later on he's going to be popular with Dorgan, which makes Dorgan Roth. Okay. Bart's dad comes into this game for some reason. And you can pair them there. So, hey, there you go. No, invest in Sephiroth for the future. For the future. And for Ydaroth for that one time you did it and don't regret it. Speaking of damage, we also got a burst. We already got the LD for Vincent. This was the original release of Vincent's LD in Japan. We got Vincent's LD early, so we got his LD boards this time around, and we got his BT and BT plus. So Vincent is a ranged thunder and fire attack damage dealer and debuffer. With his LD, he has an overhead that does a follow-up attack, which is real nice, obviously. His BT effect is a invisible debuff effect. So it is a 10-turn effect, which is real nice, although he does have some fast turns, high turn rate kind of attack, so he can eat through that pretty quick. But it is... attack, max brave, defense, speed down. It is enemy brave damage taken up and enemy HP damage taken up. And that is all kind of an invisible debuff to the enemy. So if your enemies are immune to debuffs, that kind of sucks for Vincent because he's got all kinds of debuffs. But this adds to all of his debuffs. It adds to other debuffs without taking on other debuffs. So it is a nice little burst effect. It is 10 turns, which is really nice. And he is doing significantly more damage than he used to do. So he is a fairly competitive damage dealer in this era. Obviously, if you want a 5/5 and ultimate gun, at this point, he would be a very, very good damage dealer. He does have a lot of debuffs. And his generic debuffs are good. One of them is fire. One of them is lightning resist. But one of them is that big attack down. One of them is that big eye brave down. Besides that, he has that framed one from his EX, and then he has the invisible debuffs from his BT. Other than that, he's pretty straightforward. He did get the best gun in the game, so that's something. And I have a blue and green Vincent, and I've always liked him, and you can do a lot of interesting things with him. And he's doing damage now, which is... You know anything about Vincent?
Yeah, I hate debuffers.
Yeah, I know.
Vincent reminded me of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very cool that I guess as the prime debuffer, his stuff is a lot of his stuff is invisible. So you have his armor, right? His high armor.
Yeah, he's got the debuff armor. Yeah.
Yeah, he has the high armor and the BT effect. So even if the enemy is immune to debuffs, he's still putting in work. And that's also the reason why I used to like Sephiroth so much back in the day, because Sephiroth had a invisible slow aura. That was just fantastic. I used Sephiroth a lot back in Chaos era for that slow aura, and it's just so awesome that they paired Sephiroth and Vincent, because if you run them together, the enemy is getting debuffed to hell on top of all the visible stuff in this tier, as it looks like you did and a lot of people did.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
there's not.
It is very cool that
it's not a threatening fight if you ran the team that I ran.
Yeah, like you probably didn't even need a tank. Like they would probably be doing nothing.
Oh yeah, ones. Ones. No, you need some mitigation for the setup. I did play with a couple of different strategies, but I just threw the big guys in there for the final clear.
So like I do like the gimmick. Again, I'm always tipping my hat to the gimmick. Not something I will see myself using, but of course I can imagine. Well, I don't need to imagine. There's data out there that the BT effect of blocking enemy buffing can come in handy in the near future, the next month or two. It is a really cool gimmick that I will not be playing around.
So if we look at the podcast polls, Again, TonberryTroupe.com. Beautiful infographics. Thanks to MateriaBot, Quetzalma for the podcast polls. Thanks to J.A, our mod, for helping us out here on the Sephiroth banner across just three servers. Looks like 4 people going to pity Sephiroth's BT. Wow. Some people I didn't get it before. 6 people pitying the LD, 14 tickets, 49 skips. And on the Vincent banner, obviously we've had these characters before. Realm, maybe not the most favorite. Obviously, as you said, Mino, a lot of people just don't understand how to play her. So 15 skip, 44 tickets, 7 pity, and 4 BT pities. So not a lot of people interested in those banners, but that's what it is. So with all those characters at your disposal, we have the Reckoning of Dimensions and Transcendence Tier 9 and 2 Lunatic Anger Hawks, which are Wendigo types. And this was an interesting fight, wasn't it? So, I think the first thing to note, because remember the last fight we were talking about, Sice's event, they had 19 million HP each and a 1 million at one point in the fight, 39% of their HP. 1 million HP shield. So both of them together with the shields, 40 million HP. One of these dumb hawks has 60 HP and they get shields how many freaking times? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5 times.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, 5 freaking times 1 million HP shields, or brave damage shields, excuse me. 1 million brave damage shields. So you got 5 million damage in brave that you have to deal with, and for each one, so 10 million brave damage you got to eat through, and 120 million HP you got to eat through. That's a lot of difference between, 130 versus 40. I kind of like who's working on these fights. So that's the first thing. They've got a lot of HP. They're thick boys. I don't know. Anyway, oh Lord, they have a big bad recast attack, the glowing red attack. They start with that, so their very first attack out the door is a brave gain, AoE, ice damage attack, guaranteed hit. Yeah. Then they gain an aura, and it's awful. That's defense up and brave damage resist up. Whatever. Oh, then they have, oh Lord. They have 3 different types of reaction. They have a recovering stance, which cleanses their debuffs, grants them 5 debuffs, or 5 buffs, cleanses their debuffs, grants them new buffs. They have the provoke stance, which is the purple aura. That's where they gain a brave shield, gain brave regen, and HP damage up. Then they have the grew nimble, which they gain speed and turn rate up. So they grow nimble 3 times, they get the shields 5 times, and they trigger the recovered stance where they buff 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. 6 times. There's a lot of freaking thresholds. 89%, 69%, 59%, 49%, 29%, 19%, and 9%. Thank you to Excalibur for putting together all this great work. As always, check out Excalibur on YouTube, and you could probably watch him do that dual run. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to go check that out later myself. And I haven't even talked about the old frame debuff on its turn. Not terrible. The problem is, when the boss grants a buff to itself, it gets -3 per buff it grants. So at 6 times throughout the fight, it grants itself 5 buffs, which means it will take down 15 immediately. And so if you are not mitigating the orb starts at 30. If you do not have the orb above 15, it will trigger the ultimate attack and you will die. So there's a lot of crazy shit in this fight. A lot of people struggling with it. Mino, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, first, breaking news. The banners just dropped and they reran Garnet's BT. So it's the exact same banner
Wow.
twice, but with your choice of BT. Either Vincent BT or Garnet BT. You can get Garnet and Edge LDs on both. So that's really cool. Really smart decision to release this right before the new era and to give other people more chances to get this broken ass character, especially to help with T9 if needed. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Hang on. Sorry, Twitch is cutting in and out for me. Okay, good. I think it's stabilizing. Um, for this fight was really good. Like, come on, just crank the HP up, and all of a sudden, people have to pay attention to mechanics. And I say that because, as you're saying, I've been watching. I love watching community streams when the fights get difficult. And what it is people will bring the perfect solution to the mechanics. But the thing is, with so much HP, they actually have to pay attention to the mechanics. And after months of garbage time, there's a lot of people who are not used to respecting the mechanics. They're trying to burn through the fight as fast as possible. You just cannot do that here. Even with the best options. Mark, how many turns did you...
Oh, it's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think you can do 100. I mean, that run, I don't know, the final run here, 93 turns. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's with the literally the solution that they wanted you to bring, right? The 2 BT plus characters and a banner character. Like that is with the this is what they need to do. They just need to buff the HP of everything, and suddenly these mechanics are interesting. Like if Sice's event had more thresholds where they reflected the debuff and just had more HP, you actually had to respect it. So I'll skip through because Mark's been covered most of the fight details, but if you're still struggling on this fight, there's a couple of tips that'll hopefully help. The first is double Laguna Refine Sphere. This is such a specific strategy that you really had to be like tuned into the community and planning months ahead for just to do. But if you have double Laguna Refine Sphere, it's kind of bugged out that for some reason it applies twice and counts as 1, 2, 3, 4 different debuffs applying, right? It's some stupid spaghetti code where the sphere will apply a debuff once on each target, and then a second sphere will then apply it again and override it. It is so unintuitive. Props to whoever found this out, because this has been tested on many other spheres like it, such as Laguna's real spheres, and none of them work this way. For some reason, only this interaction works, and a lot of people are doing this to bypass the orb requirement. The second one is, as people are saying, if you are in summon or burst mode during the buffing thresholds, the orb does not go down.
Right.
So if you have the DPS to push it, or you know it's coming up and you can't handle it, just burst or summon in the middle of it, push the threshold, they'll buff themselves, the orb will stay static. That should help a lot of people. And the other thing is, number 3 is please bring off-turn damage. I did this with no off-turn damage, and I had to reset so many times to get a perfect 100 turn clear. Bring off-turn damage. This fight is clearly built for as much off-turn damage as you can bring, and that's why I realized everybody in this cycle is off-turn damage.
Yeah.
Realm is off-turn damage, Edge is off-turn damage, King's going to be a ton of free turns. Like, this is what they're built for.
Yeah, and obviously Realm and Galuf are doing a lot of non-turn damage. Realm doesn't count against your turn count with her free turns, and Galuf's doing off-turn damage, so.
Right. But I just love this fight so much. This is what a difficult fight should be. Well, this is what people actually wanted. So I haven't been reading the community comments, but a lot of people say, "Oh, I want a fight that's hard if I bring full synergy." Well, this should qualify because I've seen a lot of people.
Are you finding people saying, "Oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about"?
Probably not. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a perfect example you can point to if people ever say they want it again. That's for one. And the other thing is just like, this is my idea of a difficult fight, as in the vast majority of clears I've seen bring at least 2 featured characters, maybe, right?
Sure.
Out of like the 4. What are the featured characters?
It's Realm, Galuf, Vincent, and Sephiroth.
Yeah, and then Realm was moved. So who was on this banner before Realm? Do we have that data? Trying to remember. It was a repeat, right? Or they got moved early?
Porum. It was Porum.
Porum. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Right. So it's usually at least 2 of those 4, which is like 50% rate, if not all 3, which a lot of people have done. And the thing is, like, this fight is so difficult that people will bring the best options, and the people who are trying to avoid that, they have to go way out of their way for some insanely creative solutions. The double Laguna RF still blows my fucking mind.
Yeah,
I don't know how somebody found that interaction.
Sally Bell from Tonberry Troupe says, shout out to Lasagna Defo on Twitter, who plays JP and who found that that particular Laguna thing, whatever we're going to call that way to help out. Yeah, anybody use Porum? Anybody use Porum here?
Yeah, there were some Porum runs, actually.
Yeah.
I forgot what the team up was, but there were some Porum clears in here. And no, that's ridiculous tech, and I wonder how many people would have not been able to clear it without that, because that spread like wildfire through the community. I saw a lot of people employ that in their tactics.
A lot of just scrolling through our we have a thread for every fight, and so there's a thread for this. A lot of garnets. So if you didn't get garnets,
that's another thing. Yeah. Like, so many people pulled out their...
A lot of snow overflows going on here. Yeah.
A lot of people hold up the ace up their sleeves Garnet.
Laguna, obviously, people were bringing Laguna.
Character to do it. Yeah, like, I'm actually amazed how many people freed Garnet or saved Garnet just for this tier. That really speaks to the difficulty of it.
I don't think I've used Garnet yet. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I used her in 7. Yeah. I don't hold on to characters. I use them. There's usually more than enough. But hey, if you are struggling, it's a challenging fight. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's not going to matter. At some point at the end of the day, it's a more interesting fight than Sice's fight, 100%. The fights are going to be different here in a couple weeks. So at least the play style a little bit different than this. So, regardless of how you feel, there's something different on the way. So I guess, we'll adjust to that. But definitely better than the sneeze and the boss dies, not have any idea what the mechanic was, the end. This was pretty challenging regardless, I think, of who you brought. As somebody, I think there were some people saying in our chat here that, hey, Vincent's burst effect sucks. It ran out. Well, if you pop Vincent's burst first turn, yeah, you're not going to make it 90 turns into the fight with that lasting. So you might have to play a little bit like in the old days when we actually had to conserve skill use and press brave and HP attack. Yeah, it's not quite that bad, but I did have skills left for that team, but not too many.
Just a reminder, guys, this is all permanent. This stupid campaign for the Transcendence always comes back, and you get your gems retroactively, so you're literally missing nothing by not finishing right now. So
thank you, Mino. Super, super important. This is endgame content. This is permanent content. So you're not missing out on anything except your I'm gonna get the hell out of that costume. Speaking of, hey, we got a new costume. It's Edge's costume from Final Fantasy the After Years. But yeah, this is permanent content. The only thing you're missing is immediately having the platinum plate to make you feel better than your peers. So with that being said, we got a new banner, new event. We weren't sure what was going to happen because we didn't have Garnet. So Garnet is back. Feel free to use Garnet now. If you didn't pull her and you want her BT and her LD, go to town. And so you can pull for Edge LD and Garnet's BT and LD. That's a pretty good value. Actually, this was my pick. I did not do a tier list for this month because at the end of the day, like, pull who you want to. Like, there's not a lot of winners this month. Everybody's good, but do you need anybody? No. But Edge was really my pick for kind of the character this month that you should pick up. So yeah, this is a great banner. Really, really good banner. If you don't have Garnet or Edge, and you have some extra resources, I really think this is not a bad one to pick up. But you can also go on Edge and get another chance to add Vincent. 7 is also on this banner as well. 7's EX, so there you go. But Edge comes back with an LD and an awesome costume. If you're not familiar with Edge, he is a lock tank with evasion and party evasion. He grants evasion to the entire party. With his LD, he does get a new overhead, the Fire Scarf from Rubicant. And he has a follow-up attack, right?
The EX is what grants the party evasion, right?
Yeah. No, EX grants the he had party evasion before this.
Yeah, I think you said on the LD. I was just setting.
Oh, no. I was transitioning. I apologize. I was just saying what he did in general. And then now he gets a new LD. And I believe it's his LD boards that give him the overhead. And that gives him a stacking overhead Fire Scarf that will allow him to do a follow-up or counter attack. So after he evades attack, his stacks go up. He does a big attack, can do thunder and fire resist down on the enemies, and then he does an even better one if he has 2 stacks of his Fire Scarf. So yeah, pretty solid. He is a dagger user, but a pretty solid character. I think one of the interesting things is he can potentially help increase several FR gauges, right? So that might be a way to pick him up. But I also think he's got some interesting mechanics. We've not had a chance to play with him. Obviously, some people in JP did. Unfortunately, he's right with him and King, right at the end of the era. Realm the same way. So we're going to get a whole bunch of characters with the FRs and the FR, the FR abilities built in, and the what are the things called that the characters have to help increase the FR gauge.
Force enhancement.
Yeah, the force enhancement boards. These characters don't have that, so that kind of sucks for them. But I think he does a few different things, and he's a little bit better than he was before. But it's nice that he has that counter attack, and he has that resist down, that double resist downs. Any thoughts as you looked on Edge? He has a little bit of party support too, besides the evasion.
The big thing that a lot of people are missing, I guess his rework is too subtle, is that he is actually a tank now, because there were some should you pull videos that said that his lock is still 1 turn.
Oh,
but they missed that his LD overhead extends debuff duration
5 turns.
5 turns. So now he can pretty much function as a full-time tank.
Oh yeah.
With his locks and his new imperils lasting pretty much the whole fight now. Very good. I think he's a great utility character. Again, I want to see if I'm proven wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the hipster challenge runners who are going to be using him a month from now.
Right.
I really think so. I'll see if I get proved wrong, but I agree with you. I was telling my friends as well. Like, if you're going to pick up any one character this month, it should be Edge, I guess. But I think this month is very easily skippable. I think dodge counters are cool, but how many guaranteed I don't know. He does work. I've seen people use him into the first month pretty well.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's anywhere near the path of least resistance.
Well, I'm really gonna my Lulu Edge Braska team is gonna be lighting shit up. That's
I know, right? Yeah, he has that fire attack on his LD to increase Vraska's FR bonus, man. Come on, like this is where it is. And look at that synergy with Vincent, you know, the fire and the redundant fire and lightning imperil. I'm here for it.
Well, I thought Tonberry Troupe, you can check out the infographic on tonberrytroupe.com. I thought Rydia was going to be on the banner because Rydia's in the infographic, and so it was very confusing for me.
Yeah, I have a bone to pick with Tonberry Troupe as well. Like, I'm not sure why in Edge's infographic there's more of Rydia than Edge in the picture. You know, at
okay
what point are we selling out? Where is the line drawn for artistic integrity? Like, I'm pretty sure they're just trying to put half-naked women into all of their infographics now, and I just feel like it's inappropriate, Mark. It's unprofessional. It's like slapping anime waifus onto your math textbook, right? Like, this is distracting. This is uncalled for.
I like it. I think it's nice. It's a nice artwork. Yeah. Nice.
Watch them use the exact same artwork for Rydia's. There's more Rydia in this picture in Edge's infographic than in her own LD infographic a month ago, right? Like, this is excessive. This is ridiculous.
I need to check that. I need to go look at Rydia's infographic right now. Rydia's infographic right now at tonberrytroupe.com and compare the two here. So oh yeah, you are 100% correct. There is significantly more Rydia in.
Like, this is just getting ridiculous. This is like parody levels of craftsmanship. I have no idea what's happening.
There's a lot now. I mean, there's only Rydia on Rydia's infographic, but if you didn't have a little picture of Defo Rydia up in the corner, I wouldn't necessarily even know that was Rydia. And there's just a lot of non-Rydia space on that infographic. So there's a lot of dead space isn't the right word. There's just a lot of non-person space. Whereas the Edge infographic, there's not a lot of non-person space. There's a lot of character space, right? The entire infographic is filled. Mostly Rydia and a little bit of Edge. Jovial Rogers says he was evading the artist. Sully says if it brings Patreons to Tonberry Troupe to stop the bleeding during garbage time, I'm gonna keep doing it. That's fair. You gotta pay for what you guys do, and we really do appreciate it, obviously. And consider becoming a Patreon of the Tonberry Troupe, like we are at the Crystal Chronicles. Some great exclusives there, and so feel free to do that. We do support the Crystal Chronicles, and we support the Crystal Chronicles. We support Tonberry Troupe. We support MateriaBot as well, and so we appreciate all of you who are doing good hard work. We support Black Nero on YouTube as well. So and a lot of you, we support you with our devotion and our time and putting up with your bullshit. So that's very exciting. Well, I don't know anything about this fight. This is an intersecting will. We
can save it for next time, right? We just cover the character. Yeah. But
I'm looking forward to getting Edge. I think he's a good pickup, and hopefully it'll be fun. But again, if you're trying to save resources, unlike some people in our Discord who may have a few too many, you can probably be fine this month. But man, that's a good banner. Edge LD, Garnet, full kit. It's a good banner. It's one of the better banners we've had for quite some time. So
I do like the big boost to quote unquote newer players before we transition eras. This is that's probably going to be up. No, that will be up when Shinryu era comes. So
Yeah.
that is a great emergency pickup if you need it.
So Mino, I don't have any questions for this week, apparently. You can ask your questions on podcast questions on our Discord, and none of you did. So this week, which is very, very strange. That's usually not happened. So feel free if you want to super chat, if you want to, redeem points and ask us a question in stream right now, fine. We will hang on regardless. But Mino, as we conclude, so we have this event, then we have King's event on the next, I think, Wednesday here in the United States, which is that a Heretics? I forget what King's is. It's some kind of heretic.
Token challenge, right? Isn't it?
Token of, it just says event. Yeah, it's a heretic quest. Yeah, so heretics. That's it. And then the next era starts. Oh, Yin says we didn't talk about Garnet.
Guys, Garnet is still the most busted character.
Yeah,
I'm learning. I'll
great.
get my mini venting out that I've already done on other shows this week. But basically, Garnet was even sneakier than Core because so many people think she's just a HP cap aura bot. A lot of people don't realize how much damage her follow-ups are doing because her follow-ups are only every 4th turn. So it's even rarer than Core's. It blows my mind. T9 really showed me that people don't understand that Garnet is carrying most of their damage.
Oh man, if people brought Garnet to T9, yeah,
I have not seen any team come close to. Most Garnet teams are under 50 turns.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I've not seen anything close to that in a non-Garnet team. Like if you don't realize how broken these GL firsts are by now, and it really is just pull GL firsts now.
Yeah.
I think they learned their lesson with Vincent, and they're never gonna release a ambiguously good character anymore because people were so mad about Vincent. And then we got Core and Garnet. So, guys, using Garnet is just straight up cheating. It really feels like it. It really, really feels like it. Okay, get her.
Yeah, so pick her up, definitely. Mino, so this is the last week. We have about one more week of this era, Luffania Plus era. Then we have the Squex community stream, and then we will be entering into the new FR era. So what are you doing, if anything, to prepare for this new era? What are you looking forward to? We'll break down what it all means and all that here probably next week and the week after. But for right now, as we're approaching it, what are your thoughts? What are your concerns? What are you looking forward to, et cetera, et cetera?
I'm looking forward to the theory of the new era that I guess we'll talk more about in the next episode. But basically, just a little preview. Force weapons are just the next step of what the game's already been building on, right? Like everyone's talking about, oh, it's these new concepts, etc. It's just a different version of the existing context we already have. For example, you can see the gauge building as similar to building an EX gauge, right? It's just that that's a little more subtle and a personal character. Whereas here, it builds off of everything, right? Like other people get moves that will build this team gauge, but ultimately, this is no different than building the gauges we already have. And it's similar to the BT auras early on, where you built your team around that, kind of. I don't think you really needed to, but basically, the BT auras were so effective in the beginning that's what you built your team around, right? Like if you had like an X-Death BT, you wanted turn hoggers to really milk that the HP poison, or like if you had who had interesting BTs in the beginning, like theoretically Squall increased splash damage.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but
so this is just a combination of the two weapon passes we've already had. There's gauge building, and then there's like a party-wide effect that you are rewarded for building around. And BC... go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Defo has always rewarded good team building. I think this era that we are heading into continues that, there are still a couple broken characters that are coming out, and there's still the meta and everything else. But I think you continue to be rewarded for good team building, bringing characters that work together to do what needs to be.
We got a question here. Jovial Roger says, why does Mino advocate pulling for good units, then rag on people for using them? In my defense, Jovial Roger, I just said using Garnet is basically a cheat code. I never said you can't cheat.
Yeah, I didn't
or
say
you're
don't
wrong
cheat.
for cheating. Yeah, I didn't say don't cheat.
I
didn't say all cheaters are losers.
Yeah,
I just said Garnet is so strong. She's basically a cheat code.
She is very, very strong.
Yeah, so I do want to say that if we rewind the
unequivocally the strongest character in this entire era of the game, I don't think there's any doubt that C90 era, BT era, pretty much up until this point in the game. like from the beginning of Defo till now, Garnet is the strongest character we've ever had. I don't think that's going above and beyond. Arguably, maybe moving forward, there's some competition. I think right now, she's stupid broken.
Right. And so I just wanted to say, in technical terms, if we're talking about rewinding the clock, you rewind the tape. I promise you, I did not disparage people who use strong units. And if you want to say, I guess, the history of all things, and if you want to get into the what implications and stuff, that's just the heel persona. Is that's my story? I'm sticking to it. That I think we always clarify. I always clarify at the end, do what you do to win. And ultimately, nobody cares how you play.
No, we pick on each other. We have fun, and we rag on people who run hipster teams, and we rag on people who run meta teams.
I give hipsters way more shit, actually.
And to be fair,
Jovial Roger, if you listen back, I hate the hipsters far more than the meta players. My co-host here, Mark, he admits that he runs meta a lot. I don't run hipster teams all the time. Sometimes I'm lazy and I run a meta synergy team as well. You don't hear me talking shit or saying anything, but the fucking hipsters, the people that are telling you to pull this month, those are the worst. All right, those are the worst. Leviax has a question here so are the fights completely doable without an FR weapon, or do we have to bring one? Tree Void already beat me to the punch.
Yeah.
But I do know that the first month and a half, they have all been done without FR weapons, but it is not recommended. It's just so much harder because
it's going to take time, right? I think that's one of the bigger things, right? Is it the investment in time is just a little bit more too. Like your Cisne can bridge through with the follow-ups and everything else. There are characters, and Garnet may help. We don't know. JP didn't have Garnet, so we'll see how her damage output helps moving forward. But like you said, I think not having the characters who have, having at least one character with access to an FR and then have the FR gauge, it's just going to make the month less fun.
Yeah, Sabin 6 beat me to it, and then like I said, Tree Void did too. So I want to specify the data. So T10 is probably mathematically not possible without an FR. Some of the fights afterwards and all the fights before have all been done without FR. So it's very possible, and probably even possible past that. I don't think too many people try nowadays. But the thing is, in the beginning, these first few fights we get, their HP is not crazy. I think, this is just off the top of my head, I'm not looking at the data right now, but I think Kane's, very first Shinryu fight is about 40 mil HP per. It's less than T9, right? It's technically doable. The problem is you need big numbers everywhere, and most people are pumping out a shit ton of off-turn damage. What I mean by that is, Sabin 6 brought up T9 as the example, and it's a perfect example. If you're not running a full team of synergy characters, you need to be really creative to counter the mechanics, because first of all, you're going to need a shit ton more mitigation than you usually do, because, for example, many of the first fights, as the enemy FR gauge climbs, well, first of all, we're getting okay. I'm sorry. This is only going to make sense to people who are familiar with how the system works.
Right.
But basically, both sides get an FR gauge. When players pop their FR, the enemy gauge stops. Right? It freezes. So it's kind of like freezing an orb. So without that, the enemy will get more FR phases, which are very punishing because
right, and it's like thresholds, right? I mean, the FR, as the enemy FR gauge increases, it basically has different effects.
Yes, and they like their attacks start becoming guaranteed. Sometimes they become instant kills. I know the Kane one is going to have like a guaranteed hit paralyze for a lot of turns. It has an HP poison, and when you hit 30% or less HP, you just die, just like the boss, just like the 6-man. So like you have to really work hard to not use an FR. So FR is defense and offense, right? Even though in the beginning the HP is going to be manageable, they want you to kill the boss before they get their FR phases, and they want them to get less FR phases. Like, it's just much easier with it. It's built for it. I think only the best players are going to be able to pull it off. I think it's insanity, and I don't think it's practical. A lot of these people who are saying, I'm going to skip till, like, Cam comes out, I don't know how well that'll work for people. I think I was telling BC on the ranting hour.
Yeah,
totally
have fun.
People crumbling. No, I totally see people crumbling. Like, so many people crumbled on T9 already.
Yeah.
Like, so many people were saying Vincent shit. I saw so many people green Vincent just to do this fight. Yeah. So I am not surprised that I think skipping the FR
yeah,
is
Selly is saying Kane's Shinryu, which is the new level of difficulty, is 120 million HP, just like Tier 9, but with 50 to 80% HP damage reduction, and other reductions and more mechanics. So again, you look at that and you're like, oh, like how the hell are we going to do all this? Well, once you pop your FR, you start to get damage multipliers. And so the amount of damage that you are going to be able to pump out in your FR phase is significantly more damage than we've ever done before. And that's why you're going to see damage that's just ridiculous moving forward. And so if you don't have characters that have access to that, it's really going to suck. Like, it's just going to suck. That being said, you don't necessarily need Kane's FR. In fact, arguably, Kane's FR is not really his selling point. But you know, and you could probably get away with, I mean, people have been postulating that, first month you only need Cam, second month you only need Luna Freya, like things like that, right? You're probably not going to have a great time if you're only pulling one FR a month. You may not try to chase 6 a month, because they are a little bit more of an investment, but pulling one a month might be a little too restrictive for especially anybody with resources like us. So just talking about that, Mino, and we'll get into details when the era starts. Because I know a lot of you have a lot of questions. I just realized
there's so much to talk about. You're right.
And if you do have questions, go on to our Discord and ask the questions. We have people who play JP. Some of you play JP. We may have, maybe next week, we'll have some JP players on, or the week after, to talk about some of these particular things. But I know one of the concerns is, oh man, guaranteed pity for an FR is 400,000
so it's like 150k gems,
100,000 gems, excuse me.
Yeah, 100,000.
100,000 as opposed to 75,000. And if you don't get 4 of them, the power stone it's like 120 power stones to just limit break it once, right? Something ridiculous like that. And so, oh man, how can I get all these FRs? Well, you won't necessarily need to fully limit break all the FRs to make them used, right? That's not really how FRs work. We're used to having to get a weapon and fully limit break it to even really use it effectively, and that's not really the case with FRs. Obviously, the more you limit break it, the more useful it could be potentially, depending on the FR. But it's not like, oh man, I'm gonna need to get 4 of these and fully limit break everything to make that work. So I wouldn't get too worried about it. Yes, it's a bigger investment. And if you do fully invest in a couple FRs a month, you are going to be able to use them pretty much forever. at least through this era. I mean, there is good returns for fully investing in FRs moving forward, which is nice. So
any last points you want to touch on?
I don't know. Anything you want to touch on before we
No, this all seems like good stuff for next week, right? All right, so guys, all your FR Shinryu questions, this is the time to fucking ask them. We get one more episode before we go into it. So next week, all we have is King and Heretics. So that'll probably take like 10 minutes of airtime. And then, you get the rest of it to talk about FR Shinryu stuff.
All right. We will do that. This has been episode 197 of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded on June 16th, 2022. Presented by Manscaped. Check out our good friends at manscaped.com for all your personal hygiene needs. TCC Pod, 20% off your entire order. Stay tuned for the post show. I will do some polls. We'll have some conversation. And we'll be back to talk about FR era, Shinryu era, and all your DissidiaFFOO news and talk next week, friends. Till then, bye. All right, we are in the post show. I'll do some polls while we talk.
Yeah, drag me down in case anyone wants to join. I'm gonna use the restroom. Grab a drink.
Drag me down. Well, you can't see our faces now because I don't have the thing on. Oh. Get the tunage back on. Yeah. So, there you go. So yeah, well, we're not talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake yet. We're not talking about it yet. I was going to do some polls. Why is that like that? What the what? What the what? Oh, crap. Pressed the wrong thing. Well, Lord Touch Me, I think, I mean, ideally, if you chase the FR to 100, 100,000 or 400 G tokens, hopefully you get a few. I'm hoping maybe we get a few more hyper power stones than JP did, because JP, they kind of went back and made hyper power stones more readily available. I'm hoping that maybe we get that a little bit earlier than JP did, so it's not as big of a deal early on. But it's a big investment, that's for sure. But yeah, it doesn't seem like, people are quitting en masse in JP anytime soon, so I think mostly you'll be okay. But yeah, you don't necessarily want one copy of every single FR, as opposed to a few good FRs that you have maxed out right. Figure out what all happened with desktop. Yeah. If JP was fine blind, then we'll probably be okay. We will probably be okay. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking for a second as I try to work on the podcast upload and do a thumbnail yet here. But I am going to be pulling here in a second for Edge with tickets. Woohoo! Tickets! Not good tickets, regular tickets. Not good tickets. Saving those for my FRs, man. Right? Saving those for the FRs, baby. Yeah, just pull everything. And then you'll be okay. Alright, what am I, I'm 999? Got 999 tickets! Wish me luck! Which banner was I pulling on? Banner was I pulling on? Yep. There you go. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
I'm back.
You're back. I already pulled Edge's, LD.
Oh, congrats.
So, well, that's done. Unfortunately didn't eat into my ticket problem. I think I got tickets literally expiring. I got tickets expiring in 13 days. I've tried so desperately. I don't think I'm missing anything. There's nothing to pull on. Why, God, why? Why? I have every single thing on all of these banners. Oh, it's so bad. Good luck on your pulls. Let us know how you did on your pulls. So Mino, what do you wanted to talk about? Final Fantasy VII Remake spoilers?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, first I'm looking at chat. Did you guys talk about all this stuff? Yeah. Lord Touch Me asked for newer players. You recommend pulling FR dupes if you intend to max out that FR. And there's talks of, are we going to get the quality of life that they got? Quote unquote quality of life.
Right.
To quote somebody else, apparently getting more resources is quality of life now. But right. JP made up for the lack of Force stuff, because you did technically have to max out Kane's FR on launch if you want it, because you get these. Yes. Yeah, because like Force enhancements are
right.
They require these little things,
right? And
you get 2 from the event and 1 from maxing the weapon, and you need 3 per character or something like that. So yeah, like depending on if they give us more early, sure, but if they don't, then yeah, the idea was to pull dupes.
Yep. That's what you're gonna do, right?
Probably. I don't know. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm chasing Kane hard on that first banner.
Yeah, me too. Why not? Why not? You only live once.
Yeah, I'm not worried about resources. Who was it in Discord today? Had like over 2 million gems? Disgusting. Yeah, 430 multi-tickets. Disgusting.
It's a lot. It was a lot of resources, yes.
Okay, yeah. FF7 remake spoilers, guys, I guess. Get out of chat. You should put that in the title or something, I guess. I still don't understand why. I feel like 2.5 years is plenty of time, but let's do it. Will you guys be touching on Intergrade? Otherwise, I gotta tune out. I haven't played Intergrade yet. Intergrade didn't really add anything super plot relevant, VL, so we'll say we aren't touching on Intergrade. BC, I got more copium to come back with. BC saying, Mina learned yesterday FR does not give a stat up. Here is my defense. Here's my I still think there's no reason not to max Kane's FR, because 1, the BT phase is going to do more damage. You guys are talking about, pull him for his BT. Well, if you're going to pop that BT phase, you got that extra turn to use that fucking FR attack. So the BT phase will be stronger. Plus, why not have... Because he has 1 use in the BT, 2 uses outside. Why not have your Kane do more damage overall? That's still technically a stat boost. I'm taking it. I still think it's better to max Kane out entirely than to just say grab his BT and not his FR. I still think that's an asinine thing to do. Some people are done with the event already? Looks like it.
Some people are done with the event already? Oh, no, it's an intersecting wells, yeah. It's been 45 minutes.
So anyways, FF7 remake spoilers now is so they pulled a Evangelion / Star Trek thing.
Yeah.
Where they pretend it's a remake, but it's actually a continuation and an alternate timeline. So they pulled that bullshit, which I really, really hate, and people have been doing more and more lately, but it's 100% that. And the whole premise of the remake game, and it's going to trickle into all these future games coming out, is that after Sephiroth's defeat, he decides to time travel back until he finds an acceptable timeline, right? So he's redoing it until he gets the results he wants. The problem is that him going back in time causes a butterfly effect, and everything gets slightly skewed and altered, and things get thrown off track. And so this is technically a sequel to the original FF7, and companies do this shit when they don't want to invalidate the old timeline, and they want to make their new timeline just as important. So you can't just be like, oh well, that's an alternate timeline, it's not canon. The whole thing is canon.
Right.
So stupid ass Sephiroth goes back in time, and he starts fucking things up, and now everything's different. So they call the first part a remake, but then at the ending of the remake, they show the title and logo, and then the word remake gets removed, and it's no longer a remake. It's a whole new thing. And so there's this ripple effect. A lot of fucking shit happens. Most importantly is Zack comes back to life, because why not? Yeah, I guess.
Why not?
And so
because people like that.
Yeah, right. Like this is the whole George Lucas refuses to kill Han Solo because you can keep selling merch or something like that. And so the next slew of games are heavily hinting to all be very different, not true remakes, skewing slightly different Kingdom Hearts style. So you need to play all the old games to kind of know what's happening, so you can tell how the new games are going in a different direction. And that's kind of why Ever Crisis is coming out, to preserve the old games. Right. Because all the new shit is going to go off the charts. And so people have already been uploading screenshots and footage from the show, the stuff that wasn't already broadcasted. And already there looks like there's going to be scenes in the Crisis Core remake that are going to play out a little differently. And it's already confirmed, they've showed playable footage of Zack in the second part of the remake. And so it's all bullshit. And now they're re-releasing all the 7 games and making them slightly different to go along with this new multiverse timeline. And it's all bonkers. It's all bullshit. Holy fuck, man. This is getting real Kingdom Hearts level. And I'm sure FF7 fans are loving it. But I just think, man, Square Enix is going backwards. We 16 is coming out, but we're still going back to 7 and focusing on 7, and they're releasing a million 7 games and continuing the story of 7. I don't know, man. That's where it's going right now.
Yeah, what do you did you see the latest trailer for Final Fantasy 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that so far?
I'll wait till it comes out. I don't like judging by trailers. They're almost never final.
No, they're never help. Yeah, they never help.
So, yeah.
But yeah, it looks like there's more of an ensemble cast with each character is tied to a Eidolon or a summon creature.
A lot of people are saying, like, as FF7 fans, I'm worried about the direction this is going in. You guys should be fucking... well, Zach's alive, and who knows, in this new timeline, Eric might not die.
This is what you wanted.
I really wanna see what happens if they don't kill Aerith. What if Aerith survives in this timeline, guys, with Zach? What if they're permanently alive characters, guys? Come on, this
means Cloud can suck it up and go with Tifa finally. We can rewrite Advent Children Part 2. It is what it is. I mean, I'm not offended one way or the other.
Zanmato / like that's what some screens are already popping out too. Same thing. Like he says, I heard FF Crisis Core Remaster ending is going to be tied into the new remake. Yeah, like apparently they keep saying remake or remaster. Actually, I don't think they say it this time for Crisis Core, but people think it's a remake remaster. But like Kingdom Hearts, it's going to be a ton of different games on different systems. So they've got like a phone game, like First Soldier is going to tie into this somehow, and you know, you got your fucking, like, it's like Kingdom Hearts basically. And you shouldn't be surprised, right? Nomura headed Kingdom Hearts, and now he's heading the FF7 remake project. So it's the same fucking concept where you're going to get a million games, and they expect you to play all of them on different systems and different genres to kind of piece together what's going on. And I don't know, man. It's going to get pretty ridiculous. In says, Yoshi P is at the helm of FF16, so I don't think it'll fail. A lot of people really like FF14, so they think because some of the FF14 team is involved that means FF16 will be great. I never like to bank on that because we've seen so many giants fail already. People are like, how can they possibly fail, right? Like Project Red, oh, they made Witcher 3. How could they possibly fail on like Cyberpunk, right? or like BioWare and Blizzard, right? Like you can't assume people are too big to fail, because not only is Yoshi P's specialty MMOs, because all he's like the most of what he's worked on in Squex has been MMOs. He worked on FF11, he helped with FF12, he did FF14, all very MMO systems. He even says he comes from like a hardcore MMO player background. This is a very, very different game, and he's like I think he's a producer and he's not directing this time. And a single player action game is very different from an MMO. And also, if you just took FF14 single player content, it is a very boring fucking game, and you guys can't tell me otherwise. If you played the whole game with trusts and just did the story with no extra content, that is not a fun game. So while I will say that I do have faith in him, I would never call any game an instant success just because somebody's working on it.
Yeah. It's a frustrating game with other people. So it was a long dungeon last Monday. But it's a long dungeon.
The very best part of FF7 was that it constantly forced you to deal with loss. I'm fine with the new experience. I don't like that they've taken some of the most important aspects of the story away just because of lazy writing. Welcome to anime. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like they've been doing this for ages. Name any popular shonen. I think I was telling BC, like, nobody dies in those things, right? Like, seriously, how many permanent casualties were in, like, Naruto or Dragon Ball or, what else is big? I don't know. Fucking Bleach, whatever
One
those
Piece.
other ones were back in the day. Yeah, One Piece. Like, hardly anybody dies in that. There's no body counts in anime. Like, if it's popular, they're gonna bring it back. Fuck it. Zack and Aerith back alive again. When are we gonna get Aerith PT? When that releases, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I you know, the original game came out when I was like 16. So looking at it through the lens of time, I don't know that it was as deep as we all thought it was. Like the original Final Fantasy VII. Like, man, like, oh, I mean, it was like everybody thought it was like the deepest, awesomest, like, game story that had ever happened, but it's not Shakespeare. Like, well, it kind of is Shakespeare, but that's a different story for a different day. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, and it's just like Star Wars, right? Like, don't play the new games. Like, if they piss you off, don't play them. And enjoy Final Fantasy VII as you remember it. I mean, that's how you deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's technically the beauty of this move. I still think it's a very greedy corporate move. The whole point of this is that this isn't a true remake. So if you like the original is still there. And so
Right.
it's like a new chapter. So you can either pretend it didn't happen or it did, kind of like 10-2 or 13-2 and 13-3, right? Like these straight to video Disney DVD releases, these sequels like Mulan 5 and these like you can easily pretend it doesn't happen because it happens in the future. You can totally say, well, remake Barrett's different than original Barrett, so it's okay if he acts differently. You know, you won't have nerds arguing with you like in Star Wars right now with the Obi-Wan show of, oh my god, is Darth Vader supposed to be like this new version, or was he the old version? And now Obi-Wan has this new thing to like when you add canon onto this shit, that gets weird. But hitting the reset button and saying it's a different timeline, easy. You can have your cake and eat it too.
So is that's gonna be what happens with Obi-Wan? It's gonna be a different timeline.
No, people are just arguing. Like I'm so sick of the Star Wars. Like this is why I don't really part. But like every episode, people are like, "Oh, this retcons this," or "This does this," and people are just nitpicking over like one or two lines of dialogue from A New Hope and saying this can't ever happen because Vader says this in The New Hope, or Obi-Wan says this. Yeah, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Obi-Wan
man.
who lies all the time. Vader who is a robot, basically. Yeah, I mean, no, Star Wars fans. No, I mean, Star Wars fans are the worst. We know that. There's no argument here. Star Wars fans drive me crazy. That's why I'm not particularly involved in that community right now. I mean, I just don't. I just enjoy Star Wars.
I thought you did a podcast for it.
What?
Am I crazy? I thought you did a podcast for Star Wars. Am I crazy?
I guested on a fairly popular Star Wars podcast, yes.
Oh, but it wasn't a regular thing.
No. Not at all.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I was involved in a Star Wars community, yes. But I it's not something I'm interested in at this point. Because, yeah, I enjoy Star Wars, and it is what it is. I like some of it, I won't like some of it, and the end of the day. And no, I hate the canon people, because those are the same people that are, expanding universe simps, and the expanding universe was filled with holes. Like, it was a big fat mess. And the vast majority of those books were not good. Like, yeah, there were some really good books. Not really good. There were good Star Wars books in the dark times between movies. Between Return of the Jedi and The Phantom Menace. All we had was the expanded universe, the West End games. That's all we had. The couple of video games that came out in that time as well. And so, yeah, they kind of filled the hole there, but and there's a handful of those books that were really good. There's a whole bunch that were just garbage books, just shelled out, machine books. And yeah, and they contradicted each other on a regular basis, so whatever.
Yeah, I don't get people's obsession with canon. 100%, especially if it's a big franchise. Like, I can kind of understand this is not the best example, but like the entirety of Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion are done by one person.
Yes.
So that's much easier to keep consistent, and even then, I would not be surprised if there were inconsistencies.
And
right?
it's also basically, you know, it's The Hobbit, which he rewrote.
Yeah.
So you have the Lord of the Rings, you had The Hobbit, then the Lord of the Rings. So there's 4 books.
Yeah.
And he went back and rewrote The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And
like
then the Silmarillion, right, which is...
I can understand expecting consistencies there.
Yeah.
But when it's like Final Fantasy
right.
or like Star Wars, where the original authors are long gone.
Right.
And the IP is farmed out so that...
And there's so much stuff.
Everyone. Yeah, the IP's farmed out that they let anyone make shit, which is the point of it. Like Star Trek or whatever. Like, everyone's making it. Like, how can you really expect them to keep it consistent? At the end of the day, I don't know. I really no chat. Seriously, tell me if you're super like nitpicky about canon. Please tell me like why. Because to me, what's important was always the immediate story, and like the immediate story. Like, if I go and watch a Marvel movie, I want that to be a self-contained good story.
Yeah, right.
And not give a shit how it connects to every other fucking movie, right? Like, I just want my standalone movie. Some people are obsessed with every puzzle piece fitting. Like, I don't know. It just feels so unnecessary.
I like the Easter eggs. I like the callback. But, you know, for me, like, Star Wars is a sandbox now. Like, the Star Wars universe is a sandbox.
Exactly.
And I want to see new people, different people. Like, I love the legacy characters. I love the OT characters. I love the prequel characters. I don't hate the sequel characters as terribly. But, you know, I want to see different stories. I want to see different, you know, and I think MCU is the same way. It's now a sandbox. And so do some different things in this world, in this universe. And don't, you know, you don't have to connect everything. Not everything has to be, you know, setting up something else. Like that was really cool. Like what the MCU did for those 23 movies, I think that was really awesome. But I don't need them to do that again. Like, you know, I mean, what the Harry Potter movies did to have the same cast over 8 movies. That was incredible. I mean, something like that had never been done before in feature films like that. That's really cool. You know, don't need to do it again, right? Like, do something else. You know, and just enjoy it. And that's why I said that. That's how I feel about Star Wars. Just do something, and I'm going to like some of it I'm not going to like. And, you know, and I'll live. Final Fantasy's a little different in that every Final Fantasy is different, but it takes some of those that, you know, there's some elements from each one. There's some Final Fantasy elements that find themselves in each game, and so that kind of creates this connective tissue that makes something a Final Fantasy game. And there's arguments about that. You know, what needs to be in it to be a Final Fantasy game, what doesn't, and the, you know, the Opera Omnia is the kind of mismatch of all these different universes connecting together. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Final Fantasy VII. I'm not opposed to them doing sequels to existing games, going back to other games. You know, obviously, I think it would be cool to have Final Fantasy 16, 17, 18, but I'm not, you know, opposed to, hey, let's do, you know, a sequel to Final Fantasy 6, or, you know, let's go back to Final Fantasy 4. I like, you know, if people like these characters, or let's do more Dissidia stuff, whatever. I'm okay with that. Obviously, it's a weird franchise, right? There's not a lot of franchises like Final Fantasy that everything is a little different.
Isn't there?
No,
Maybe.
No, there's probably a few, right? I mean, there's not zero. there's not a lot. You know, there's a lot of franchises that are, you know, you have your, you know, you were just talking about like Dragon Ball Z, like that's a franchise. And you kind of, you know, you have different characters that come in and out. But you kind of got your same group of characters. Obviously Star Wars, you know, you have your same concepts, your same characters. Now hopefully that expands. Star Trek, you know, Star Trek's, I guess, maybe
Star Trek's dead. No,
yeah.
come on.
No,
the
that's what I'm saying.
Dead. Yeah, the creator's dead. He's so like it's all new people, and I haven't been as a diehard like Trekkie, I haven't been super impressed with the new stuff, but like I have a watch group, and they're like, you're never gonna get the magic of the old Treks anymore, and I'm like, yeah, that's true, because the original writer's dead.
Yeah.
They're all gone. Like, of course they're not.
But even then, I mean, you had a lot of content from, you know, the original series that were self-contained franchises in themselves. Right. But again, in that broader world, that was connected, in that it was all part of a timeline. Right? I mean, there's a consistent timeline for Star Trek, whereas Final Fantasy, everything's completely different. Non-connected at all. Except this game that we play. Comics are weird. Oh yeah, growing up reading comics, right? Talk about incursion.
No, comics are a real
and all kinds of weird
sandbox, as somebody said earlier. Like, you shouldn't be looking for canon in comic books, because they're built to they're built to not be connected at all. Like, every writer invents their own thing and usually doesn't respect what came before. So like, if you grew up reading comics, you're very familiar with choose your own canon, or more that canon doesn't matter, it's what you enjoy, I think is what Tree Boyd was saying earlier.
Yeah, can we have a different writer come and do a Batman movie that's actually, you know...
Did you not like the new one?
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet, but
okay.
I heard there's some good things, but it's also some of the same dark, gritty, vigilante Batman stuff, as opposed to maybe something interesting. I saw an interesting thread somebody shared about a lot of the things that made Batman such an interesting character 70 years ago is he had access to things. Like, his superpower was he had access to wonderful toys. Like, he had access to gadgets and gear that the police did not have. He had access to supercomputers, and he had access to non-lethal ways to disarm people. He had access to night vision. He had access to, like, you know, a tank. And the joke, well, you know, like, you know, armored vehicles and stuff like that, you know, a glider, and, you know, he had all kinds of different things. Originally there was a helicopter, and then the Batmobile, like he wasn't driving a police enforcer, right? He was driving a fast car that had all kinds of gadgets, kind of like a James Bond kind of car. And he could do what he needed to do because he had that. He wasn't going up and beating up crooks and acting like some vigilante. He was helping the police, using what he had to be a good detective, to aid and do things they couldn't do because they had limited resources. Well, now we have police with, you know, full body armor, and we have police with actual tanks. And
actual police with actual tanks.
Yeah, and we, you know, the only thing Batman... This is what this person was posing. The only thing Batman, this dark, gritty Batman, can do in the, like, Christopher Nolan era, you know, Batman, is basically beat the hell out of criminals and do things that cops would hopefully get arrested or lose their job for. Which, I mean, traditionally there have been cops that have done those kind of things and may still do those kind of things, but hopefully they wouldn't be doing that. And so, you know, wouldn't it be interesting if maybe we found a different way to express Batman? I'd be for that. So, yeah.
I don't know. I think people really just like the current one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's whatever catches on. That's the new canon, right? Like
Right.
our current iterations of the Marvel heroes are not what they've always been, or most of their...
No, but
Yeah.
I mean, the Batman that I like the best is the animated series Batman, right? The 89, 90s Batman, which is not the original Batman. But even that Batman, you know, it was a depressed Gotham City. It was kind of a noir Gotham, where, again, the police did not have a lot of resources. Batman was doing, you know, there was a rule they couldn't have blood on the show, right? So Batman, there was non-lethal stuff. Batman was not just beating up criminals left and right. Like, if you really look at the rules they had to follow to make that show, you know, it was... Well, I would really like World's Greatest Detective Batman. I heard there's a little bit more of that in this one, but, you know, a little bit more detectiving would be nice.
I want you to watch it so we can talk about it, but it reminds me of the saying in writing circles that clever characters are only as smart as the writer.
Yeah.
Like, the writer cannot write characters that are smarter than they are.
Yeah.
So, like... like so you get a lot of cases of, like, they try to make something seem really smart, but it really, really isn't. And so, I don't know, there's a lot of that in this movie, in my opinion. You go check it out.
No, I mean, I've watched Batman the Animated Series, the original, you know, few seasons, in recent years, and yeah, I mean, it really, really holds up. It was some great writing. Really, I mean, they were able to do a lot in those, and you know, elevate a lot of the villains in that series too, in ways. But I always thought they did a fair job to Batman. And I generally don't have any complaints about the MCU versions of the characters, because as you said, you know, characters need to be updated. They need to be made relevant, and that's always, comics have always done that, right? I mean, that's okay. That's what you want. And so yeah, is there a way to, because right now Batman's the guy that just does what the police can't do, and that's horrible things. those are bad things you shouldn't do. Like, that doesn't seem like a real real great hero that we should be glorifying, like truly horrible vigilanteism, breaking criminals' legs. Is not exactly, you know, what we want. But yeah.
Batman is problematic.
Batman is
Same
problematic.
with the Jedis. Are
Jedis! Oh man, it's rough.
Why can't there be one good canon Jedi, like one canonic Jedi that actually follows the rules? It feels like every single Jedi is an example of how shitty the Jedi are. Like, I was telling you earlier, but you were on vacation, you were busy, but I finally finished Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah.
Minor Boba Fett spoilers ahead, guys. But, like, it took me forever to finish because it was so painful to get through. God, I fucking hated it. And it's just like, one of the many episodes of Boba Fett that didn't have Boba Fett in it, where Luke is training Grogu, and I'm just like, this is so idiotic. I'm like, does anyone take this seriously? Because Luke is like, Grogu, you're too attached to the Mandalorian. I can't train you. You got to make a choice, right? Like, you got to either choose to give him up or not. And then he's like, if you do give him up, I will give you this lightsaber belonging to my beloved Master Yoda that I hold as a treasured heirloom. And, he was a great person, and I hold this to remind me of him.
Yeah.
Like, you're too attached, so you're too attached,
son of a bitch.
so you can't do it. And then he's like, oh, and also, even though you don't want to be a Jedi, let me teach you how to weaponize the Force before you leave this planet. I don't know why they did that, or why it's too dangerous.
I guess, is there different ways, is it too much of a stretch to say, at least to headcanon, is it too much of a stretch to say that was Luke's point? Like, he was telling Grogu, like, you don't want to do this. Your place isn't here. You need to be with the people that you care about. Was that the point of the conversation though? Like, him telling
feels like a stretch.
No,
I
don't know. I mean, that was my kind of initial interpretation, because the other interpretation, it's real bad. Like, it's just really stupid. Like, I mean, like, because it's just really bad.
But I mean, like, with the track record Star Wars has
no,
gotten,
it's real
like,
bad.
You watch all these movies like Solo and stuff, like, they don't know what they're doing. And once again, it's like the characters can only be as smart as the writers,
right.
and these writers are dumb. So I don't fucking know, man.
Well, and obviously Boba Fett's got virtues now.
TV saying Jedi are people just like anyone else, not paragons of virtue. While fair, the whole point is they seem to create a lot more problems for the galaxy than they reportedly solve. So, like, they keep saying we have to keep our ways secret, we have to spread our ways, we have to make more Jedi, but it always seems like they do more harm than good.
So here's the problem. Star Wars is not Batman. Star Wars is not, gritty X-Men. Star Wars is pop, fantasy, sci-fi, real, movie, the vignette movies, from that kind of golden age where there's a clear good guy, clear bad guy, right? That was it's the hero's journey, right? So there's always been the Jedi are the good guys, the Sith are the bad guys. And the more you muddy that to get into the real world, like, people are flawed and people make mistakes, the more you lose the aesthetic of, we're watching Star Wars because we want there to be good guys and bad guys. Like, we want there to be clearly, these are the good people. Sure, they got struggles, and sure, there needs to be conflict, and there needs to be inner turmoil. But at the end of the day, the good guy's going to be the good guy. They're going to overcome. They're going to lift themselves up. And when you come up with this, like, failed Luke Skywalker, and the failed Jedi Order, and and that's all you have. It's
a great segue because it reminds me of a lot of the interviews. So, like, for example, like, we all know, like, Rian Johnson and Episode 8, and he wanted to do a lot of subversion on purpose, right? And he said pretty much the same thing, which is fair. It's his movie. If he wants to do it differently, I'm okay with doing things differently. But he basically said, like, he doesn't like the concept that, like, the Jedi are perfect, virtuous people, and he's saying that's an impossible standard, so he wanted to subvert that. He's the creator, that's his choice, sure. But the point is also, like, why are you hiring someone who doesn't like Star Wars to do Star Wars?
Well, he said in the writing process, I heard this in an interview or saw it in some bonus footage. He basically said, as I'm writing the script, I'm thinking about what's the thing people will expect the least, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
Well, that's why that movie, the original time, the first time I saw that movie's like a freaking roller coaster ride where you can't see what's going on. Like, it's like one of those indoor.
That kind of writing,
and it's very,
but
very.
I respect it. I respect it because look. I'm not gonna say, artists and creativity, you can't always have what you like, and people are gonna do different things. They're gonna experiment. That's fine. Rian Johnson is also not a horrible writer because he's written really good movies like Knives Out. Yeah, so I'm saying, like, if he wants to try that, sure. I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm not going to say you can't do that. But the thing is just, like, why would Disney hire somebody that doesn't like Star Wars to write Star Wars? And this happens in the superhero movies as well. Like, people really complained about how dark the Snyderverse was, right? And Snyder's the same thing. He's like, I don't believe in superheroes. I think that's a dumb concept. They're all flawed. And it's like, then why are you doing Superman, who's supposed to be the one example of...
True
paragon.
True paragon, right?
Yeah, and
right.
Like,
Superman doesn't kill people. Batman doesn't kill. That's the thing that makes DC DC. Their heroes don't kill people. That's like rule number one. You start messing with those core values. Trevoid saying, if you're talking about the core series, I agree. They should stay simple. The extended works, but even like. Again, I'm not saying that you can't have complexity. Look at Rebels. which is not the greatest Star Wars, but not bad. Kanan was a Padawan who left the Jedi Order during Order 66, right? And kind of went out on his own, started freelancing, struggled with being a Jedi, struggled with what it meant to be a Jedi in the world or to run from the Jedi, struggled with whether he was going to make a difference or, kind of that, that hero, that reluctant hero, right? Perfect hero journey stuff. And Ezra has that kind of journey too in that show. But at the end of the day, it's clear that they're the heroes. Like that there shouldn't be any question. Like, yes, they go through trials. Yes, they have questions. Yes, they may even turn to the dark. And there was that whole expanded universe thing where Luke went to the dark side, right? But at the end of the day, and that's even in the original series, in Return of the Jedi, which certainly has its flaws, but is one of my favorite movies. Luke starts Return of the Jedi wearing all black, like his father, right? And so the image, you're like, it's turning it's on his head because the good guys wear white in the old, Western movies. The good guys have the white hats. The bad guys have the black hats. And so Luke comes in wearing black and he's all this badass, everything, and we don't know what he's going on. And at the very end of the movie, when he finally throws down his lightsaber and realizes, yeah, hey, I really understand what it means to be a Jedi now. You see his uniform opens and he has the white underneath to show you, yeah, Luke's been good all along. Like, there's never a question. You knew, like, oh yeah, they tried to play with it, but at the end of the day, Luke was never going to the dark side. He was never going to the Emperor. He was always going to do what needed to do. And when you screw with that, and that's why people were so pissed off at 8, and I understand, when you screw with that, it screws with the whole core value of what George Lucas was trying to do originally, what the original Star Wars meant to so many people. And again, you can just say, fuck Episode 8, who cares? Or whatever they did. And you can say, oh, he redeemed it in Episode 9 or whatever. But Luke didn't need that arc. That arc had already happened, right? That's the problem. Don't have old characters do that arc. But yeah, if they're gonna dig into,
that's what D Knight's saying. That's why he has a problem with the new FF7, right? Like putting new arcs on these characters. But I'm gonna bounce once again and say, ultimately, that's up to the creators. They have the right to change things.
Oh, right.
Technically, 7's a little different because this is Nomura's baby front and back. This isn't a new person messing with his work. This is him. Yeah. Telling you how it should be. So if you want to be like, that's the same creator doing it.
Well, and George Lucas did that in Episode 1, 2, and 3, right? Like, people got pissed off. That's why he left. Right? I mean, that's why George Lucas wanted to be done with Star Wars, because he came back, did Episode 1, 2, and 3 the way he wanted to, and people were like, no, that's not Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, that's everyone. Like, they said, the same with George Lucas happens to all these people, where they get too big and people are afraid to correct them because they're like, well, they must know what they're doing because they made a smash hit. It's like J.K. Rowling, right? Like, apparently her editor was actually on her for the first couple books. Then later on, no, because she's obviously successful, and now she's moved on to Fantastic Beasts, and the quality of the series is objectively getting worse and worse. But she's too big for anyone to step in and say you're doing it wrong, because she made Harry Potter. Same with George Lucas. He's too big for anyone to edit anymore. That's why the prequel trilogy is the way it is, right?
Oh, yeah. Episode 2 is still, I know my youngest son loves Episode 2. That's the hardest one for me to watch of any of them. Like, of any of the Star Wars movies, Episode 2 is hard for me to watch. The editing is so bad. Not even talking about the story stuff that people get into. Just the editing in the film is so jarring. Like, what? Like the best editing team in the world was working on this movie. What the hell happened? And there are things that happen behind the scenes, obviously, but it is like, whew, where are you going? Where are you going?
How did we start all this fucking talk? Oh, right. FF7 is becoming as bad as all of these series we're talking about, guys. So Strap in. Okay, what I wanted to say, and I wonder if BC will disagree with me, because I know BC is a big FF7 fan. What I want to say is that I guarantee you guys, this FF7 arc will not come to a satisfying conclusion. This is a tale as old as time of, oh, I like the old work, so I'm going to stick here for the ride and see what happens. I guarantee you, just like Star Wars fans, you guys are just going to hate it with every new iteration that varies more and more, right? Because it's like episode 7 of Star Wars. That was almost a full remake of New Hope.
Yep.
That's what FF7 remake was.
Yep.
It was basically
and then it took a real different turn.
Yeah, like FF7 remake was basically episode 7, where it's 95% of what you wanted, the old stuff all over again, and now it's gonna go off the fucking rails. So we'll see. Maybe they'll also pull a Star Wars and be like, "Oh, we overcorrected. Let's go back to remaking it 1-to-1 again." I do
like episode 7's pretty watchable. It's a still pretty good. It holds up pretty well. As a trilogy, that's a different conversation, but I can watch episode 7 and enjoy it greatly. We'll see when it comes to what's it called, Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
You gotta get the Crisis Core remake too, and then you gotta play Ever Crisis, and then you gotta play First Soldier, and there's rumors that a Dirge of Cerberus remake is coming as well. So
yes, Dirge of Cerberus remake.
Ready.
Yeah, no, there are things, Trevoid. There are things that I like. There are things I like in episode 2 for sure. Plenty of things I like in episode 2. I camped outside a movie theater to get tickets to episode 2. So, believe me.
Trevoid on Kojima. First of all, I'm not sure. Even though I think ultimately that new movie, that new game, Death Stranding, was good, I don't know if it was as successful as his old work because he didn't have a good editor on him. He got free reign on that. So, and that got a lot of mixed results. So that's really hard to tell. We'll see what he does. But what I wanted to say was, thank God he can't touch Metal Gear anymore, because you also have to agree that each Metal Gear game afterwards was lowering the quality of the series as well. Like the more creative control he got, the more crazy shit got. And, he is not an exception to this rule.
Well, this is what happened. I think what you're saying is something that happens in regular life. I mean, it happens in churches. That's why you have these big. One of the reasons, there are several. You have these large church pastors, and there's nothing wrong with, because it happens to everybody. But you see it in the news when it's these large church pastors. End up losing their jobs, end up getting into fidelity issues, financial issues, all these things, because when you surround yourself with a bunch of people that won't hold you accountable, I mean, you see it in businesses too, right? Yeah, then you don't have somebody to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing this, or, it's so... It's
a hard call, because I remember I read this, like, from an editor, like a book editor, like, the publishers hire them, and their job is to just... like a consultant almost, and they're saying, like, well, us editors, we don't know, we only have an educated guess of what's good. Right. We don't actually know. If we knew, we'd be the authors, right? Like, we'd be the authors writing the hits, but we don't. So when an author becomes super big, you're kind of just like, well, then they know what they're doing, right? Like, maybe they know better than us because they're the famous author, not us. So, like, at a certain point, you're just like afraid to question, like, to mess with the formula, right?
Well,
like,
and I mean, to be fair, right, art is very different, isn't it? I mean, like, yeah, I mean, art is a different kind of situation where, you like you said, it's not like holding somebody accountable in my profession or a business profession where we need people to hold us accountable. It's literally, hey, I'm the artist, this is what I want, and you see that with people not connecting with labels and everything else. And there's good reasons not to do that, but it's also good to have people like an editor that says, hey, have you thought about doing this? Or here's that challenge you to do different things. So that was a weird battle. I don't know. Are you gonna buy any of these Final Fantasy games?
I'm gonna wait for reviews. Because while I think Remake was a fine game, I also wasn't the biggest fan. It was okay, you know? But it's definitely, speaking of Kojima, it's definitely feels more movie than game nowadays.
Yeah.
There's way more cutscenes. It's like FF14, right? There's way more cutscenes than actual gameplay. And while the gameplay is like nice and polished, it's not like super deep. It's all right. And so like, you know me, like I'm not playing 14 for the story and the cutscenes.
Yeah, right.
I don't give a shit about any of it. So like, that's not hooking me. Like when I play a game, I want to play a game, and while Remake is a fine game, it didn't impress me enough for me to say, okay, the sequel is an instant pickup. I gotta wait and see if it does well. It's like the Marvel shows now. Like, I'm not watching any of these fucking Disney Plus shows until I see the reviews. Although, Miss Marvel's initially doing well.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, I was
going
going to ask if you'd watched Miss Marvel yet, because I've heard it's getting pretty good reviews.
Not yet.
Yeah, we have not either. We're, like I said, we're still a couple episodes behind on Obi-Wan, so yeah. So when are we going to start doing Final Fantasy card game?
Oh yeah, anytime you want to do an off week or you have extra time, I'm down. Like, it's all on Tabletop Simulator if you want to mess around with it.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh. Interesting. Oh. Well, I think right now I'm going to do a Mewtwo battle in Pokemon Go. That's what I've been playing. More than anything, my boys and I playing Pokemon Go. I can't believe it's still a game after 7 years. Talk about longevity.
7? There's no way.
7 years? Yeah, I think it's 2014 when it started. It was, yeah, it would be, yeah. Crazy. Oh yeah, Mewtwo, nice. Very exciting. My first potential Mewtwo. Wish me luck, everybody. I'm raiding with 20 other people, so it should not be an issue. It's just an issue of actually catching the stupid thing once you beat it down. As it is with all of the Pokemans. Oh, the Pokemans! Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's like a gotcha that you have to waste time doing the fight for. Imagine if if Defo, you had to like do the Luffania Plus for a chance to pull, and then you just repeat it every time.
Yeah, except there's no there's no way I can just pay to get it. So it's very frustrating for somebody. It's very frustrating for somebody who just likes to pay for things. It is. I will say, as someone who played Pokemon Go when it launched immediately, they have made a lot of nice upgrades and do a lot more events, ongoing things. They're doing an event with the card game right now for the next 2 weeks, because the next card game set is going to be a special Pokemon Go card game set. So we already beat the arguably most difficult raid in the game, the Mewtwo raid. We in 30 seconds we just murdered Mewtwo. Now I have, because I don't even get to use like my own stuff. I don't get to use my own Pokeballs. I get to use special Pokeballs. Excuse me, 46 seconds we got it. So I have 17 balls to catch Mewtwo. 17 balls, and thankfully 88 golden raspberries. 17 balls to catch this motherfucker. Yeah, everyone who participates in a raid gets a chance to catch the Pokemon. Everybody gets it, but you get a limited number of balls. And they are, depending on the raid difficulty, and this is the highest difficulty raid, they are a bitch to catch. So I have 17 balls. I will let you know if I catch him. And there's all kinds of different things that depend, like the more Pokemon you catch of a certain type, then the better chance you have. Obviously, that was an excellent throw. Excellent spin ball. That's a good one. Golden raspberry. Oh, got him. Nice. But then, because this is Pokemon have IVs, which are random stats.
Oh wow, that's in the
that's a big thing in Pokemon Go. And so I'm gonna appraise this Mewtwo that I just caught. He could be bullshit crap. He may not be good at all. And then they have moves, and you have to make sure that they have the good move set, because their move set is random too.
What? That's so stupid.
And so you have ways to get. So yeah, he is not even there's a 3 stars. He is not even a 3-star Mewtwo. Let me see if I can figure out his IVs without actually computing it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18. He is a 82 IV out of 100 Mewtwo. 82? No, he can't be. He's got to be. He's only 2 stars. He's got to be less than 82. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 82. I'll have to figure it out. But either way, build up the Pokédex. So I'll take it. Give me some Mewtwo candy. And I caught him in New Zealand. Isn't that fun? Participated in a New Zealand raid with one of my New Zealand raid friends.
Because they added a thing where you can just participate anywhere in the world or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that does cost technically in-game currency, which you can get in-game, but you can also buy. And so you can buy raid passes to participate anybody. Tree Void, FE Heroes is that exact same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, it makes sense in Pokemon. It doesn't make sense in Fire Emblem, Tree Void. Like, why
I don't especially considering it's a gacha.
They're also like people, right? Like they're set characters. Like Pokemon are different Pokemon. Okay, one Pokemon's better than the other. That makes sense. But fucking, one Ike is worse than another identical Ike. Like why is this a thing?
Why is that?
Fucking horrible.
Why is that? Somebody tell me why that is a thing. I gotta get this. Yeah. No, yeah, you can participate if one of your friends invites you to a raid. You can participate anywhere in the world, and you get to see the raids that are nearest to you. So you can join any raid that's nearest to you, which is nice. Which is fun. Yeah, it makes it a lot nicer to get these legendary raids, mega raids, because they're impossible to do by yourself. I think there are 5 difficulties of raids, and you can do potentially we've been playing for about a month or maybe 6 weeks now.
You've only been playing Pokemon Go for 6 weeks?
Yeah, we restarted. This is a new account. I started 6 weeks ago. With the boys and I started. I played when it came out originally, but that's not the account I have. So, this is a fairly new account, 6-week-old account, but I'm already higher level than I was for playing like an entire year. So, that's how it goes.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. That's life with upgrades, right? Just like Defo and any other mobile game. But yeah, so 1, 2, 3-star raids. I can do some 3-star raids by myself. The boys and I can definitely do any 3-star raid, the 3 of us. But yeah, 4-star raids, you definitely need a handful of people. And like that Mewtwo raid, we had 20 people. We didn't need 20 people, but 20 people took it down really quick, thankfully. Endgame Pokemon Go. No, Endgame Pokemon Go is hunting for shinies. Yeah, that's Endgame Pokemon Go. If you go to the Pokemon Go, like the big YouTubers, yeah, that's what. And there's still a huge Pokemon Go community and a lot of YouTubers that are getting hundreds of thousands of views. So it goes. Well, anything else, Mino? How are you still playing Echoes of Mana?
Yes. Just like Defo, it's just a nice little side game. I'm still happy with it. We will see where it goes. There's been one problematic thing recently, but it's only been the first month, so I'll give it. But there was a PvP. Well, there's a leaderboard event. Yeah. Where you get rewards based on how well you do, and there were a lot of cheaters.
Oh.
And yeah, there were a lot of cheaters, and the devs or the community manager said that, and the devs put out a notice saying that they're gonna look into the rankings and see if they can filter out the cheaters. But they just recently handed out the rewards, and none of the rankings really changed. And a lot of cheaters, self-admitted cheaters on the subreddit, said they still got their stuff. So the community is a little sour about that, because it's basically like, if you're gonna do a PvP event like that, at least make it so that
how were people cheating?
There's just like things you can do on the player side to like make, raise your stats to max or have enemy HP be 1 and just like kill things. And so like all games kind of have that, and I don't know how they're going to check for it, because they it's just like Defo, where the game only checks online when you enter a fight and when you leave a fight. So everything in between they don't care about. They're just checking the results. And I was telling Defo people who also play the game, I was like, people can cheat in Defo. People do cheat in Defo. It's just not very known or advertised, because this game is purely PvE, right?
Right.
Like, that's the reason why, if you guys remember, the very first boss rush, you could see teams used by other people. And you could see a ton of people running like a single character with a bronze weapon and bronze armor, right? Like,
yeah, I remember there have been some exploits in the past that we've talked about. Sure,
it's very easy to cheat in Defo. The thing is that it's not noticeable because you're not competing with these people.
Yeah, like who cares?
And the funny thing is, like, Defo doesn't get rid of these cheaters. They didn't say, "Oh, let's look into the cheaters." What they did was they got rid of your ability to look at other people's teams. So they kind of like swept it under the rug, right? Only the first boss rush had the ability to look at other teams used. And then everyone saw cheaters, and then they decided, whoops, let's take that feature away. Let's never let other people look at other people's teams again, because we don't want people to know how easy it is to fucking cheat in this game. So usually this isn't a problem. The problem with Echoes of Mana is they made a PvP event and they couldn't clean out the cheaters. So if they can't find a way to do it, that's very bad blood. But if they can, they can fix this mistake. But yeah, like, that's the nature of the game.
Wow.
Yeah, like Tree Void saying, EOM has a cheater problem and they're not being punished sufficiently at the moment. Why should I spend money on the game if cheaters can do it for free? I totally feel that, TV, and as we've talked about, it's the first month, so I will give them a little bit of time, but if they cannot resolve this, then I'm out, right? But they say, I was talking to one of the community managers in the official Discord, and they say, like, lots of phone games actually do have anti-cheating measurements. It's just about, I guess, I don't know how hard it is to implement stuff like that. But of course they must, right? Because there's just so many PvP games, like Star Wars and Dokkan and stuff like that. All right, you ready to call it, Mark?
I think we're good. Thanks, Mino. Thanks, everybody who hung out with us in the post show. Great to hang out with you. Ricky Shrew, that was Ricky's who beat that dumb challenge we put out.
I think Leviax or Destroth were saying there were two people.
Yeah, I think Ricky did it first, but yeah, there was more than one person did it eventually, so.
I don't even. What's the challenge again? We should have said that.
Poto Cedar would have to tell you. He's the one that found it.
Okay, we'll ask him.
It was awful.
We'll ask him and we'll put it in the next show for context, I guess. What was it?
April Fools. It was April Fools, not like 2 years ago, I think. I don't know. Ask Cedar.